have to jump on it as well. But we'll manage to pull it out. Look at the rails.
Look at the Digipod.
Here in overtime. Oh, but the plasma in that zone. It's good rockets as he goes through the teleporter. Surely he can finish this one up. Yes, he will. We're tied up again. Here we go. LG out. And he'd already done some damage with the rocket. And he's going to finish off with landing. There's a mega. Avek is going to call good games already.
Project Velocity.
What is up, bitches? We've got all the nostalgia, so I've got to get the DJ Wee reference in there as well. That was always his sign on to any broadcast in the old days, and it feels like the old days right now, Zook, because I don't know when we last did this, but I've got a few more grays, and I'm sure you do as well. You got a few more kids as well at this point. So, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm, as you heard, I'm exhausted because of the aforementioned reason. I was listening to What Is This, Dan, in the video, and again, I think our last cast must have been that match. I'm trying to think.
Is it really? I mean, that's a pretty good one to leave it on.
I mean, that was like the finale of Quake Live, essentially. It was Evil versus Rafa.
Yeah.
And then we find ourselves now, what, 7.5 years later. And we're back. Nothing has changed. Nothing at all.
Yeah, I mean, that honestly, that's definitely, I think, one of the most poetic ways that Quake Live could have ended in a sense too, because it felt like the culmination of this rivalry between Rafa and Evil that had gone on for a few years at that point, and the way that it couldn't have ended in a better way. So it's very, very cool. But yeah, it's so weird. There's so much to talk about. Obviously, for everybody watching, this is Project Velocity. This is perhaps the closing of one chapter with, of course, QPL announcing that, you know, they're no longer running a professional circuit with Quake Champions, and then people have kind of flocked back to Quake Live, and you know, we have Project Velocity here that is, if you've seen the roadmap on their website, you know, promising to deliver, you know, bi-weekly cups and also, you know, leagues and LANs, and so Quake Live seems to be in some sort of a resurgence right now. So it's super interesting. It's 2024.
Yeah, it's just incredible, honestly, and I'm so much more nostalgic about it than I thought. I thought I kind of put that chapter behind me, but I was seeing the event getting put live. I was seeing the players starting to practice, and then I was like, you know what? I guess I'm going to try some duels myself. And I just miss the strategy of Quake Live Duel so much. It's so different to Quake Champions. There's a lot of benefits to both games, but I just miss this mental arithmetic, this strategic requirements that you've got. It's not as much about the mechanics. It's more about getting in the mind of your opponent. And all these classic maps that we've got to watch on top of that.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun getting into all of it. Obviously, we've got a great tournament today to start things off with, and to get back into the flow. I feel like, you know, we've got to shake the rust off. Yes. I think everybody. I feel like it's been interesting, and I've been playing a lot of Quake Live in the last couple of weeks as well, and trying to get back into the flow of things. And it's interesting now. It definitely feels like, you know, riding a bike to a large extent. There's obviously lots of intricacies and nuances. You kind of have to get on that dual grind to kind of get those back. But at the very least, you know, there's all these players returning that have, I mean, they played Quake Live for well over a decade, definitely, like most of the players playing. So lots of experience on the servers and lots of names that I think, like Gaia's in this tournament. I used to play CPM with Gaia when he was like 14 years old. I remember, and he had insane mechanics back then. So it's just wild to see that because the game's been around for so long, there's so many, you diehard purists and passionate Quakers that something like this happens and they come out of the woodwork, and then you have all these stories, all these narratives from like ages ago.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild. It's hard to process for me right now.
No, it's insane. And speaking of Gaia, he's going to be part of the first match that we're looking at, going versus Zenaku, who is obviously one of the QPL pros and Quake champions. I'm interested to see the transition back into Quake Live for him. We've seeing a few of the pros from Quake champions making their way back into Quake Live. Clearly, like a lot of rust with them as well, but I think they're making a fair transition. Gaia has been playing some Quake Live, and then we'll see how we get on with those. But we're gonna have this interesting mix, I think, of players who come back to Quake Live, and then we've got some of the guys who never really left, like Pavl, like Ash, like Agent. And I'm just curious to see, is that loyalty to Quake Live going to pay off for them? Or are there going to be some new tricks that we're getting? Have people taken some inspiration from Quake Champions or Gaia? I don't know if he's still playing CPM. I wouldn't be surprised if he still jumps on. I've no idea how alive that scene is or not.
Yeah, I mean it's still going. They still have pickups and stuff like that, but it is definitely all the scenes are quite small from what I understand. But it's quite cool to see that they have lived on with a decent core of players. And people are always like messaging me to try to get me to play CPM, and I love CPM, but I don't know. I just keep struggling to find time between all of the other things.
Yeah.
And I mean it's interesting, especially because there's so many questions that I have with all of this. I think Rafa was a big question mark for me because I wasn't sure, is he going to come back and sort of just dive in, which it seems like he's doing because he's playing a lot of Quake Live, and that's going to be weird for him too because, like you said, like we opened the show with that whole kind of Rafa evil conclusion. Is that chapter also, is that story not over? We have a sequel that could be appearing possibly. I don't know what
Rafa Agent instead. Agent's taking evil spot. This is just the story that I would never have expected, but it could be. It's been really curious seeing Rafa playing again. I think he never sort of takes things like half done, really. He always goes in prepared. He wants to have done his homework, and that's why I've been watching his stream. He seems to be playing hours of it back to front, essentially. And I'm loving it. I was watching Kelson as well, playing his games. He's refusing to play any loyal Quake Livers until he had played about 3 days of practice games versus people he knew he could beat. He's like, I need to get my confidence back. All right, now let's have a go against these old pros.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, especially because I think because a lot of these Quakers, a lot of the best Quakers got good very early on. Rafa, I suppose, maybe would have been considered somewhat of a latecomer when it comes to Quake 3 initially. It's only starting to win tournaments in 2008, whereas Kelson was like the best German or second best German player in like 2003, and always sort of that's 21 years plus that he's been competing in duel and being like at the very top. And I like this idea of the age factor, because this is a constant question in esports about are you too old? Is that a thing? Like we don't know yet. We don't have like the evidence because we're all growing up and sort of aging and seeing kind of how that impacts our ability to play. But players like Kelson, he actually really surprised me in Quake Champions, how he continued to be extremely dominant.
My age has definitely been an impacting factor, but for Kelson it doesn't seem to be. But that's the thing with Quake as well. It is one of those legacy esports at the end of the day. It has huge amount of time in the scene. It's like the sort of, the Counter-Strikes, the Dota, the StarCraft. It is the 1v1 FPS version of all of those. And I think what we want to see of Project Velocity is like, can we still champion that format of esports? Can we still get some attention, some eyes on it, and see how far we can take it really with the methods that Project Velocity is looking to re-promote the game? I'm always going to be supporting Quake Live or any version of Quake. Essentially, God, there's like a Quake 6 at the moment that's been rumored. Are we going to kind of keep revitalizing the scene until then? I have no idea, but I don't think the pulse will ever really sort of stop beating really for Quake.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because it's 2024, and like just yesterday I was like reinstalling Dota 2 and playing some Counter-Strike. and I've been playing Quake Live that day as well. I'm like, what year is this? Like, what is happening right now? Like, I'm still playing these games, and these games are still amazing. They still all, have awesome gameplay and awesome feeling, and what's also interesting in the larger kind of esports ecosystem and industry as well. Obviously, things are tough right now all around for the entire industry and the world's macroeconomically, but it's curious because a lot of the franchise leagues have really struggled quite a lot. And with the franchise leagues, that's more of the kind of, I suppose, the newer, bigger titles. Like Overwatch franchise league kind of failed. I think a lot of people were kind of calling that early on, of course.
Yeah.
It's the struggles, of course, with Valorant trying to kind of make that stuff work. They're really struggling, lots of downsizing across the board. And Counter-Strike is interesting because they made a ruling. They're like, we're going to go and we're going to prevent these kind of franchise systems where kind of teams and TOs can have these kind of financial connections that allow for that sort of thing. So we want the circuit to be completely open.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like the old school games are beginning to do better than ever. StarCraft, I feel like, is like, and RTS is having a bit more of a resurgence lately as well. So all these old school kind of esport experiences, I feel like, are somehow just threading the needle and surviving.
But there is something that's really hard to verbalize about it. Sure, like all the publishers are going to create their own marketing through their esports on their new games, but there's something about the legacy esports that always kind of goes on. There's something that you don't have a corporation telling you how to franchise the league, a la Overwatch League, etc. Now they're going back to the roots. I'm probably sure they're going to see a bit more success. Let the community decide how it plays on. I think we're actually getting the game started pretty soon. I'm seeing people talking about getting ready. Should we maybe speak about I mean, I don't really know what to expect in this match, Gaia versus Zenaku. Frankly, I'll say anything and stick to it, but any thoughts yourself? Have you seen any of these guys practicing at all?
I haven't seen them practicing in duel at all, and I'm in North America right now as well, so I've been playing with a lot of players here, so I would have more knowledge in that sense, but I haven't really been seeing a lot of the EU players just yet. So it's gonna be a journey of discovery for me. Obviously, we're pretty familiar with these names. We know these players have really insane mechanics, and they understand duel, they understand how to play Quake, but it's really interesting because I think, like we said, there is a lot of rust, so I could foresee perhaps quite a lot of mistakes. Especially for the players that didn't get to that kind of tip-top level when Quake Live was the Quake to play. Because, for example, Rafa jumping back in, he's going to be a little bit rusty. He's going to have to, just, once again, kind of grind it out and kind of refresh himself. But he got to that top level. So he has a much higher ceiling that he's reached before that he can kind of, essentially go back to more easily. But some of these players never got to that ceiling, or they never consistently were playing players of that caliber. So I'm kind of curious, like what are the mistakes that we are actually going to see? Because I feel like we're going to see perhaps more fundamental ones that we may expect to see in a couple months from these players.
And that's the thing with Zenaku, is that he fought for a long time to be at the top of the Quake Pro scene. He wasn't like that in Quake Live. It was in Quake Champions where he really started excelling, where I think he became better than the Pythons or the Cammers or the Phrases, etc. in Australia. And going back to Quake Live now, I genuinely don't know how his mechanics are going to shift and how his strategy is going to shift. Genuinely, having to time only 30 seconds instead of 25, 35 for the last 6 years is probably going to do something to a man's brain. But Gaia, I think, has been hanging around a little bit longer. I think if I had to really guess, I'd assume Zenaku will probably walk away somehow with the victory, just because he's a bit more in that competitive mindset than Gaia is. But I'm frankly happy to be surprised at what's going on. It's only a round 1 game, of course. The next game we'll go to will be round 2. I think we're letting the games play out as they will, and then we'll delay some matches if we spot some nice games to go into later on.
Yeah, and I think I totally agree with where you're coming from with your sort of prediction on the matchup. I think it could surprise a lot, and I think the maps definitely will dictate quite a lot in terms of the opportunities here, because I think one thing I'm curious to see is, fighting skills tend to, if the dueling level isn't super high, fighting skills, you can make up a lot with it. And Gaia was a player that in CPM had insanely good mechanics, but it looks like we're straight away with things here on Campgrounds. So here it is, the very first Project Velocity European Cup.
I'm not even
First
ready.
match.
I'm not even ready.
I know what's happening.
We are on Zenaku's point of view. He spawned over at yellow. He's got himself onto the rail very quickly. Already a direct rocket, so he's going to feel like there's plenty of pressure that he can put on. And now he's got the LG. I'm trying to figure out my spectator UI as well at the moment. So I feel completely fresh of this, like I've been reborn myself.
Yeah, we've got the positioning on the first mega. So Zenaku, obviously not great stack on the res just yet. He's able to move through from that mega to the red, and you can see guys just operating from the high ground. So not really able to feel like he can actually plant himself on that red and defend it due to some of the early damage. So Zenaku's slowly getting some advantages here, and I think the guy definitely trying to avoid the damage, and that's a nice bit of chip. As we look into these next big irons, 10 seconds to the next red and mega. You got to make a choice here between these two. They're pretty close together in spawn time.
So yeah, I'm gonna flick around myself. I can see where Guy is up to. He seems to have a position on mega health. He can drop down more easily than Zenaku can. Looks like Zenaku does manage to land himself a rail, but Guy is definitely contesting the control at the moment. It looks like he wants to set himself up over to the red armor a bit. He's got to watch out. He's a bit cornered here versus the LG, so I'm expecting a kill to happen unless Zenaku pulls away. He's run out of ammunition there. Oh, the direct rocket! Zenaku gets himself the first kill. Gaia, I mean, between a rock and a hard place at that point, but it looks like he did not want to escape via the mega health route.
Yeah, very nice indeed. Got a little bit early for that red, but trying to defend here. Zenaku's not super strong. Guy actually going through despite the mega coming up, and that's maybe, we're talking about some of those mistakes there. Guy actually did a great job in creating delay around the choke, despite having less stack. Should have been able to get the mega, but Zenaku's going to come away with that one. So 150 on the stack, and 20 seconds until basically anything spawns. So great timing window now for Zenaku to try to hunt some kills and convert this control.
So he's been quite passive at the moment. Over onto the rail, he must have heard something there. Guy's going to drop down. He's absolutely crippled. The items are about to spawn, and Zenaku can choose exactly where he wants to go for, trying to hunt some kind of respawn kill. Guy gets himself onto the red armor, but he just has no weapons to work with. He's pushing himself through onto the LG, but this should be a free kill for Zenaku with the yellow to fall back on. This is quite a dominating beginning, and I potentially expect the next couple of minutes to continue going Zenaku's way unless Gaia can somehow manage to slow this down and make himself invisible here on DM6.
Taking that high ground position to at least have maybe an opportunity for some damage, although can't see items. I completely agree with what you're saying. It's trying to guidance coming on the mega specifically right now, and that's the the dive. The dive item. It's easy for the out of control player to potentially make a play for it. It has a time on it. Trying to defend here, and it's not looking good around this railgun area. Zenaku doing more damage. Guy's not really able to back up to ever really have a good stack that will allow him to test when the mega red. Oh, what a shot! Oh, from Zenaku. That is actually so sick, and that's the reset button for Gaia. No guns. Has to start all over again.
I was going to say as well, I mean, Gaia's got himself the railgun now. Sure, he doesn't have a whole lot of control, but try and play that long-range game a little bit. You have to land a few rails. You have to make the control a little less comfortable. And Zenaku's basically just hit 200. I haven't said that in a long time. It doesn't exist in Quake Champions. And Gaia now just trying to block the choke point a little bit. Manages to get a nice rocket, but there's just this war of attrition here. Zenaku's going to win that 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, it's looking really good here for Zenaku. Oh, nice shot as well. That's kind of a wild one to hit, because normally when a player's moving toward the jump pad, sometimes the player will try and juke you a little bit and suggest they're gonna go up the jump pad, but then kind of actually just not do it. But Zenaku just doesn't care. He just instantly shoots and hits him. So yeah, that was pretty cool to see. And Zenaku's aim is looking certainly pretty nice, especially with the rail right now. Yeah. Okay, there's the caster curse. Brilliant.
Oof. Yeah, chunky rockets again. I think there might be an unfortunate bit of lag at the moment. Oh, it looks to clear up nicely. Okay. That's a relief. The guy's just got to run, leg it. He doesn't even strafe away. He just walks away. I'm actually pretty impressed at Zenaku and how... Wow, okay. Fair play, guy. I'm just impressed at his aim and how his mechanics are looking on Quake Live. I really thought there would be a bit of a longer transitionary period, look a bit more rusty, but he's looking much, much better than I expected.
Yeah, and I think Campgrounds as well, it definitely rewards that, especially if you're in control. And this map is, I feel like this map, like running control, it's not too hard to understand the basics of how to do it well. But the basics of doing out of control play well on this map is actually extraordinarily hard. And that's what really separates the good Campground players from the bad ones, is the ones that have a good out of control game. And you know, all you have to do is look at the ESL classics with Rafa and Kula on this map to understand, you know, how tenuous, how difficult it can really be. And obviously, Rafa explains it quite well how to do it in that match in particular. But it is a tough ask, especially if you don't have a huge amount of experience.
Yeah, and just some context for the viewers. So the maps picked is obviously this one, DM6. This was picked by Zenaku first. The second map is going to be T7, so Furious Heights. And if there's a tiebreaker, we'll head over to DM13. So DM6, given there is a variation of this, as Zenaku will have been playing a lot recently, sure, makes sense. Can I see an argument that Guy will perform a bit better on T7 than on DM6? Yeah, absolutely. I think he stands a bit better of a chance. Zenaku surely knows T7, probably not as well as DM6 at this rate. Although he will certainly be familiar with it nonetheless.
And it's kind of going as you sort of, you know, essentially said, you know, I think you said the next few minutes we're going to see more of this dominance, and indeed, you know, Gaia unable to, because the goal really is to try to survive. DM6 is so much about timings and pathing and trying to cut off your opponent. So you know, there's not a lot of items on the map for you to take if you are out of control to stack up, and the player that is in control gets extra time than compared to with some other maps, because he doesn't have to pick up as much items. So he's able to spend a lot of time cutting you off as the out of control player. So you have to understand very well the pathing they're going to take. Otherwise, you get into the situation, you just get caught and caught and caught, and you start giving up these kills, and it becomes increasingly more difficult to obviously get that back if you ever do get control. And so far, like, we're seeing the guy unable to win control back. We've got 2.5 minutes left now. And this is feeling like an unrecoverable deficit at this point.
I think Gaia's gone full. I mean, he's not playing it by the book at this rate. He's trying to get some damage in. He's going a bit CPM mindset and just being really, really aggressive. I think, sure, in the first 2 to 5 minutes or so, yes, play back on that yellow a little bit. Try and put some delays between the mega health or red armor so that they spawn similarly. You know, he did an okay job getting himself some of the items. I'm gonna actually take a look at the items now. So we've had 14 red armors taken by Zenaku versus 4 for Gaia, 12 mega health versus 2, and there's even twice the amount of yellow armors for Zenaku versus Gaia. So control has been massively on his side. The interest... Oh, actually, no, I misread the damage. It's about 2,000 versus 3,000 of Zenaku. And I think one of the issues here is we've got 6 rails fired for Zenaku, but we've got, sorry, 6 rails fired for Guy, but 28 fired for Zenaku. There's just so much damage done at a distance before closing down the gap. And that damage difference is pretty much, like, between the rail, is the damage overall as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it does speak volumes for sure that, as you say, Zenaku's firing more rails, because it means that he's getting the opportunity to fire them, but also... You know, there should be really the case that Guy is the one dictating those long-range battles as the out-of-control player where possible, and is looking to get that chip damage in with that rail where possible and setting those things up more. Whereas the player in control is, you know where they're going most of the time, because the item rotation is predictable. So you know that at certain times of the map, they're taking certain pathing. So it gives you as the out-of-control player like opportunities to kind of take initiative and be like, okay, I'm going to try to take this particular fight when I know he's moving this way.
Oh my god.
But instead it's the opposite. Zenaku hitting some actually sick rails in this game.
That's an unbelievable rails we're getting from Zenaku. This has been awesome. And then the easy ones he's missing, but absolutely classic. Like a significant frag deficit here, or advantage, I should say, for Zenaku. Let's look on the bright side. Can he repeat it over onto Furious Heights, where I think you were drawing some similarities with me earlier, but I'd still say there's more space, there's more resources, it's easier to get away from your opponent and be quiet on the map. I'm certainly hoping that Guy can at least get a good start, and we'll go from there. But that's GG here on Campgrounds.
Yes, It is definitely GG's exchanged, and this is Campgrounds. It's like it's one of the most polarizing maps. If you again don't have a good out of control game, you can get blown up by your opponent, and it's devastating. And there are players that can play the in control game really well, and then as soon as they lose it, it's kind of over. So you really have to have a well-rounded game, or you get super punished. Blood Run is like the opposite for me, where it's like, okay, you can always survive. Like, you know, you've got the teleporters. There's like all these different choke points and corridors. It's harder for the other opponent, for your opponent to actually, you know, cut you off and rail you in these open spaces. They don't exist in the same way. So, you know, Campgrounds is not like that. If you don't have a super tight game, you get punished really hard.
Looks like we are straight into Furious Heights here. This is map 2 of the first series in the Project Velocity EU Cup 1. We're on Zenaku at the moment, it looks like, who's managed to get himself Rockets LG, Mega Health, looking for the railgun now. And Guy is going to be opening up the damage a little bit himself. Red Armor, this is where the next fight will take place. The problem is there's not that many weapons that Guy has to work with, but at least he's seen Zenaku run away, and he's net gained some armor.
And that rails of Zenaku, just the way it was in Campgrounds, is certainly threatening on a map like this too. You've got a lot of those kind of vertical open spaces where the rail can be very powerful and getting that extra, you know, damage in and really just tipping things in your favor on the stacks. And like defending this these upper chokes is really powerful, forcing your opponent to go to the low ground if they want to challenge. And you can see there, Zenaku just delayed. He was able to delay a few seconds by preventing Guy to move forward, and then he gets to drop on the red armor, and then it's uncontested. He just gets it for free.
Guy did not have an eye on where Zenaku was then. Trying to put pressure on the Mega Health. Because of that, he's taken damage, and Zenaku's gained stack, so Guy's under a lot of pressure now. And Zenaku's absolutely looking for a kill at this point. You can see the stacks at the top. Guy gets himself a yellow health. He's rocket jumping out. He's got 10 health. Oh no, and he puts himself into the negatives by landing a direct grenade. Zenaku just whittling down that stack, and kill was never far away.
Guy trying to lay a trap though at the top, well, above the red armor, and does do some good damage. Red armor's picked up by Zenaku though, so able to recover some of that. And with the mega, Guy, a nice initial rocket, but once again, Zenaku is not missing these key rails, and it's oppressive right now.
Just gonna look at the accuracy straight away. So only 3 rails fired for Zenaku, but he hasn't missed one of them yet. There we go. Cast his curse again. I think Guy is really trying to keep one of these items timed. Red armor is the focus for him at the moment. He's desperately trying to put pressure on, but the reality is he probably shouldn't be up in his face yet. Or maybe he just feels like it's hard to escape, but it's hard to get out of this kind of stranglehold Zenaku seems to have him on.
Oh,
what?
That is... What a combo coming through again from Zenaku. I mean, just looking really, really good in some of these fights.
Does this sound weird? That looked like a Quake Champions combo. Is that what sounds weird? It just really feels like it does. That was just LG tracking backwards while going through the air with the rail. I was like, what kind of anarchy stuff is this?
Yeah, it's looking so sick. Like now, you know, Zenaku's really feeling his aim right now, and it is actually so difficult to deal with because on top of that, Zenaku's also doing overall a better job on the dual fundamentals. So you know, those are the 2 main categories you're going to be able to look at. We talked about it in the pre-show where the fighting skills can mitigate a lack of dual fundamentals, but if you can't beat your opponent in the fighting skills, and they got the better dual fundamentals, you're losing on all the stack, and you're losing on all of the damage too. So it's pretty hard to win a duel at that point.
I genuinely wasn't expecting Zenaku to be playing like this. I know was becoming a very top player in QPL, but I did not think there would be such a seamless transition to Quake Live. Sure, we're watching versus Gaia, and it's hard to say really comparatively what that's like versus the people who've been around forever, your Agents, Ashes, Pavls, etc. But this still looks pretty classy from Zenaku, and I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting because like you were mentioning, didn't really see him in competitive Quake Live previously, and you're going to throw him in the mix with a lot of the vets. So that'll be an extra new dynamic for us to be able to kind of, you know, just enjoy as we watch it. And I think it's really interesting too because, like you say, you know, you made a perfect point. You know, Gaia right now is also helping him to look a little bit better because Gaia is more exposed in a lot of different spots than a more experienced dueler might actually be. So Zenaku's getting to make some easier shots here and there. It's getting to have some of these opportunities to look good. So we'll see how that does look indeed against your Pavls of the world.
Yeah. I mean, there might be a chance now for Gaia to put a bit of pressure on. I'm sort of multitasking at the same time, so I'm looking ahead in the bracket. Sorry, Gaia. Because it looks like I'm trying to see who could Zenaku potentially go up against next. The next person in the bracket is somebody called Hyper, who I know I got chat open. Who's Hyper? Should we know about Hyper? Could we get some consultation on the qualities of Hyper?
Phone a friend.
Yeah, yeah. And then following that, it's FSB versus Backstein, and we're familiar with Backstein. We don't know how active he's been, but he was a really, really exciting player in the sort of 2012s, 2013s type of time. So yeah, I'm gonna see what chat's saying about Hyper, but Zenaku has actually been playing the defensive game for a little bit, so I wonder if he can actually turn it back on its head and regain that control. Guy is watching him just walk out of the room. He was over by the LG.
Yeah, Zenaku's sort of just getting his pick of items at the moment. And it's once again going to be pretty hard for Guy to actually find a way to get a frag here on Zenaku, because Zenaku's been maintaining the stack quite nicely. Zenaku's trying to zone with the grenades, but the red armor timing, I think that's something that Zenaku's been really on top of. And on this map, you kind of have to be.
Oh my god, that was amazing. Oh!
Huge rockets though from Zenaku, and that's going to feel pretty awful for Guy. At least he gets off the spawn, off the rip. He gets himself the mega and the yellow, but only 4 minutes to try to convert this.
Oh my god. Guy was being so sneaky though. He was just hiding behind Zenaku and walked up to his back before landing a direct rocket. I mean, the glory's gone now, but I enjoyed watching it from his perspective there for a short moment. Oh.
I do agree with what you said too. That Gaia is definitely CPM mode a little bit.
Yeah.
And for those of you that that aren't familiar, CPM is actually an even faster version of this.
Yeah.
And Gaia is absolutely just beast mode as CPM, but it's not the same approach at all.
Oh no! He's just the mega health. R.I.P. Oh, it's messing again. Oh, for God's sake.
Oh dear.
Feels bloody bad.
Does indeed. So I think Guy he was negatives on the first map, so he's at least doing better than Campgrounds so far. See if he can get into the positives.
Yeah,
but this map is really
glass half
Oh,
full.
go ahead, sorry.
Glass half full. Yeah, sorry. I like what you're saying. It's not negatives.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that you were saying that this is your favorite map, and I think there's a lot of great reasons for that to be for that to be the case. Obviously, it's your preference. It's not like I can dictate your preference, but I think it makes a lot of sense because you get a bit of everything with this map.
Yeah.
It's like a bit of the best of all the maps in a way, kind of distilled into one, and it's I think produced great games. So I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah, and I just also love the different how the rooms connect together. Just from a movement perspective, I've always loved just running around an empty T7, enjoying it. There's lots of fun gaps. I mean, I used to train my circle jumps and stuff on these pillars because they've all got interesting different gaps that you can practice from. Yeah, to me it just has everything that I wanted a map, and I remember the sort of countless hours I just usually end up playing T7 only versus ZSX and Ints and whoever would meet us on a public server at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's just, yeah, it's just always been perfect for me.
It's a good point too about the movement, how clean the movement can be through the map, because there are some maps like I like Toxicity, but it feels clumsy, the movement sometimes, with all of the lips and just the dimensions of it. But this map does feel just very solid from the movement perspective. It never feels like I'm kind of gonna slip or fall or something's awkward.
What do you make of the lovely Project Velocity colors that we've got over here? I quite like seeing the sort of the new neon and everything. And for some reason, it's almost like I have to focus on how different it looks because I still just see T7 at the end of the day. But I think it's great.
Yeah, that's such a classic thing actually. Like I remember when casting Counter Strike like all the time, like hundreds of hours per week, in the old days, where someone would like point out like something on the map, and I'm like, I've never seen this before. Yeah, I've looked at this like
A million
on my
times.
screen thousands of times. I've never seen this like detail. It's so bizarre.
But I do
Yeah,
love
you.
the colors and the branding that we're getting from Project Velocity. It does make this cup still feel so unique already, and it's such a nice way to get back into, for me at least, casting some Quake Live on. It doesn't feel like I'm casting an old Zotac, an old 125 FPS. It feels like it's got its own personality, which I'm very excited by. But that's GG. Zenaku, frankly, I think we were pointing at this game beforehand, looking at the brackets and saying, yes, these are two names that we're interested in seeing, but this was a lot more decisive. I don't know about how you were feeling, but a lot more decisive than I was expecting.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect because, like you said, I wasn't sure about Zenaku's form. I know Guy has really good mechanics, and I know that he hasn't done a lot of like Quake Live dual focus in the past, but I wasn't sure what he's been up to in the interim. So I was thinking, I know he's got the experience to play Quake really well, but can he just drop on those dual fundamentals on top of it? It looks like that wasn't happening in Zenaku. I think we saw some of the basic issues in understanding how to play out of control and just understanding how to orient yourselves around the item times, because that's something that in this game is like that's like the first thing that has to be in your head is what are all the item times and what are the rotation times and how do I position around all of that, because that's what drives duel is the items.
Yeah. Sorry, I've been distracted a little bit by. We've just got such a great team working on this. Being given some player information about Hyper in my Discord and stuff, and there's lots of graphs and information that I'm getting given, and I'm running on about 4 hours of sleep, so multitasking is really challenging at the moment. But it looks like Hyper's got a sort of 1500 duel rating. He's got a lot of duels played, but I would say this is someone that Zenaku has got a good chance of taking down. However, Hyper looks like he's a very active player. So I do know we're going over to Ash versus Pavl regardless into this next game, but that's just a little something. If anyone's hoping that Zenaku gets further in the bracket, I do think that Zenaku's got a chance to at least make it over to round 3, I would suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, have we got look at
take a look at the stats we've got
Yeah,
on
good
screen
shout.
here. This is something that Project Velocity guys have been working at, and I'm sure we'll continue to develop over time to try to tell the story of the duel through the statistics in a way that hasn't been done before. I think the first thing that you can kind of see is just the obviously it's very one-sided, and that's definitely represented as you can see, like frags by time and player, and the pickups as well, the story of control as it progressed throughout the match.
Yeah, I'm just trying to digest this a little bit now. The first blood, 98 seconds into Campgrounds is what we're seeing. I love that we can see the accuracies. I like that it says beast weapon rather than best weapon. I think that's a good touch. So, I don't know if I was meant to point that out.
Yeah, and largely we saw a game which was just, I mean, Gaia never really got control, I think, at any point really on either of the maps. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these graphs sort of change when we get
100%.
situations, games where controls may be contested for a large portion of the maps.
I mean, look, if we're going into a game like Ash versus Pavl, now I don't know how active they've been, but I have certainly heard of them playing over the last few years in Quake Live. Don't know how actively, but cropping up here and there. If this is something that is going to be reminiscent of between kind of like 2011, 2016, this is going to be a control-oriented game before them trying to show off their mechanics. I don't know what type of maps they'd play. I'd imagine ZTN is going to be in there somewhere, maybe a DM13. Pavl was part of one of the longest games ever on DM13. He had a 30-minute match with Kilson once a long time ago, and it was a low-fragging game. I'd certainly expect that kind of strategic type of match on this occasion. So something very different to what we just had.
Yeah, but both of these players have those dual fundamentals that's baked into their souls, into their beings. They understand like very fundamentally how it works, and they understand sort of where the tipping points are. And that's something that's really key. What does that mean? It means you're not going to try to commit to a fight where it's going to give you a significant disadvantage. You're going to be patient around finding the right spot and you know, you're probably like, you know, Zeus saying we're going to be seeing maps that you're not going to be super committed into fights. It's going to be a lot of chips damage. It's going to be a lot of these tactical exchanges where it's all about the positioning around the item rotations, and we're going to get to really see, I think, as just as you said again, like a slower paced game, which is, you know, significantly more methodical. So that's going to be a good, you know, change of pace. And for those of you that haven't seen Quake Duel before, and because you know you saw this on Twitter or whatever, and you're like, what the hell's going on? This is going to be more representative, I think, of what like proper control game looks like.
Ooh, second map stats. Okay, so we've got T7 over here between Guy and Zenaku that have cropped up. I'm very sad, Guy, that you went -1 both times. I have missed you, and it's nice to see you back, but this is marginally upsetting for me. And again, this time First Blood took a bit longer than in the first map, but yeah, Rockets again reigning supreme for the players. At least this time, Guy technically got himself a kill.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it was definitely a very. I mean, essentially, if you know, this looks the same as the stats we saw from the previous map as well. Just like effectively like full control the entire time for Zenaku, pretty much. And I mean, I guess one difference was, you know, we saw more rails connected by Guy, but ultimately not really sort of making a dent. You got to be able to find, because this is another thing I think, you know, we can talk a lot over the day about, you know, different fundamentals around dual timing, but when you're actually like getting the kills is really important, because it kind of comes back to the item rotation. So you can hit a lot of rails and even get your opponent super low, but if all the big items are spawning like in 3 seconds, and then you die, and then they can just pick all of those up, and then all that damage wasn't really for anything. So it's one of those situations again where the basics super simple, but there's a lot of complexity behind that.
I've just been getting some information on Ash versus Pavl. Maps are going to be DM6, ZTN, and T7. So we'll see DM6 again, 100%. And that is picked by Ash. And I do think those maps... I mean, DM6 is a tough one, but I would say that's mostly reflective of the type of strategy they're expecting to see. I just think we're going to see DM6 play it in a bit more an orthodox type of way.
Yeah, it's actually gonna be great to get another look at DM6, because I think that first showing in the opening game there, it might be a little bit like, you know, might turn some people off, you know, it's just a complete stomp, you know. But again, we sort of emphasize that if you don't have a good out of control game, which was really what defines it, in my opinion, a DM6 player, because you can always get sort of the worst spawn or the worst initial damage exchange, you got to be able to have a good out of control game. Both these players do, so it's going to be really fun to talk through that, because you're not going to see... It's going to be a lot more about the fine edges, as opposed to like all these fights and all these frags, which kind of just feel a bit one-sided. It should in theory be like harder won fights that have more impact on the match. So I'm excited for that.
Just got a little call out to chat as well. Who's going to win this one? Who are we expecting? Need some insight from chat, because I've certainly not been around enough on this one. I guess I'd call Pavl, because I know Ash had a hiatus, let's put it that way. But yeah, I don't know otherwise.
I'm gonna go with Ash then. I mean, I feel like I think it's kind of... I feel like it should be pretty close, but I haven't been watching Pavl. I haven't seen him play lately, but I have been seeing Ash playing a lot. He's been streaming a lot, and I was watching him before we went live here as well, and he was looking in pretty decent form against the players. He was playing against Firebot, and he dispatched Firebot in a pretty confident manner, and Firebot's, you know, a great player. So I'm definitely feeling like Ash is you know, poised to have a great match here against Pavl. And for me, because I haven't seen Pavl's form just yet, that's kind of the question. And where is Pavl on the form front?
So we're just hearing from the voices in our heads, so we're going to take a very quick break, guys. When we come back, we've got Ash versus Pavl. They are warming up on the server, so we'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes.
say, ah, it's already okay here. Why you still want to move up there? It's getting more dangerous, whatever. So that means along this way, the higher you want to go, the more likely you're gonna walk alone. This is the next thing. Along the way to mastery, you walk the way alone. Repetition, repetition, repetition.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. We are going to be commencing shortly with Pavl and Ash. Surely it should be a pretty sick game, actually. I'm actually really looking forward to this. I haven't watched a game in like a competition like this in a casting capacity of this level in a while. So it should be fun.
I know I'm getting flashbacks to the 125 FPS. So these guys playing week in, week. I mean, that's probably not even completely fair. Day in, day out, I think is more accurate, really. They were just. I mean, these are like some of the most loyal Quake Live players in the scene. They've just refused to go absolutely anywhere else. We talk about players who sort of touched on those new games that came out. These guys, it's Quake Live, do or die.
Yeah, definitely. And
One.
we're in.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
straight in. It's Campgrounds to kick things off with, and looks like Ash on the red armor spawn.
Yeah, we're going to be watching him first. I thought he was going to maybe go up towards the rail already. But he's just taking the yellow. So he's got resources to work with, and now it's about chasing down those weapons. Whereas Pavl has got himself the trifecta already. However, does have a slightly disadvantaged stat versus Ash.
And this red is actually, there's a big delay between the red and the mega here. So this is going to be contested both items. And that's a lot of damage that Ash has taken. The question is, Pavl doesn't really have any armor really to his name, so how confident will Pavl be to drop on the mega? Looks like he understands Ash is off picking up HP and actually is able to sweep that one away. So Pavl's in a pretty good spot now and keeping the pressure on, forcing Ash away off of the bridge. It is continuing to chase.
How is he still going? He was railable for so much time there. Pavl's pushing through. What?
Whoa.
Okay. Ash was much more confident with the plasma than I was ever expecting, and manages to fall back quite nicely as he sees Pavl taking up the red armor. Very surprising start, given I thought Pavl had all the advantages there.
Yeah, but the mega's going to be picked up by Pavl because Ash was left so low after that fight, and it's a little bit of extra chip. Each plasma bolt is 20 damage, so it does add up very quickly. And the red's coming up, which Ash does have position on, but he's pretty susceptible to damage. He's very low, and you can see Pavl knows it, going for the challenge on the low ground and sweeps that one away. So Pavl now with a better stack, despite losing that initial fight. You can see what the outcome of that is for Ash. He's so low that he's unable to challenge, and so Pavl now has control.
I do love what Ash was doing anyway. He was spending a lot of time at the top side of the map. Even if he couldn't get himself onto the red armor, it was easy for him to get out of a fight and try to chip at the same time. He even managed to go and win himself a mega health after all of that. So already, positionally, I think we're leveling up significantly in this round 2 match. And Ash is still managing to trade damage, rail for a rail, almost every time. And Pavl even has the weaker stack now.
Yeah, that was a massive amount of damage there from Ash defensively with the rail. That really tips things potentially in his scale now to be able to challenge, but look at that positioning. On the high ground, denying entry for Ash, and he can't get to the red in time. So it's about this mega, but there's such a delay that Pavl can potentially push for this, but again, this choke, you got to get through the choke, and Ash is defending it. Has less stack, but you can't walk through that choke without taking insane damage. So Ash able to defend, to pick up that mega, gets the yellow, and now things are starting to get interesting for Ash.
Oh, rockets, possibly another kill over here. Pavl trying to get out of here, but cannot do it. That's going to be 2-0 for Ash. I love this sort of ferocious positioning we're having from both players to try and secure their respective items. But it is Pavl getting caught out, essentially on a bounce pad there, which is not what you expect given what we've been seeing already. And a brilliant catch there for Ash, making it 3-0.
Yeah, really tight stuff from Ash, making some great choices so far, and that cutoff kill is really helpful. 3-0 up now. Let's see what he's able to do with this. Both Red and Mega are spawning at the same time. So if Pavl's been keeping an eye on some of these item times, then there would be an opportunity potentially to steal one of them away. We'll see if he's able to do so. But trying to cross from that shotgun area and takes 80 damage. That's unfortunate for him.
There's a lot of items coming up at the same time. Ash is watching everything. He can hear everything. It feels like Pavl's making a bit more noise on the map, carrying a little less. He does take the mega health. Ash is just too much stack and solid mechanics they're getting through the fight. I'd assume Pavl gets the yellow armor now. With a price attack. Oh my god. What?
Dude. I mean, that first one, sure, but the second one as well, that is brutal. And that puts Pavl in just such a desperate position. Kratos dies, and then it's now -1 to 5. So I mean, the game in theory should slow down quite a bit now, because Pavl can't really afford to go down any more kills. He has nothing, and Ash is fully stacked. So there's no sane fight that would make sense against Ash. And Ash is just going to try to convert this advantage. Oh, wow, these rails are insane from Ash. 3 excellent rails in a row. And I was saying that he's on form, but I didn't think that he looked actually quite this good. So
this is
impressive.
Ridiculous. This is Ash's map pick, and he's making Pavl look pretty damn mediocre. I mean, Pavl was always second to strengths in the scene when I really remember him the most, and right now, yeah, falling down the pecking order a little bit. You know when sometimes like you're pushed back to just get the what? You're pushed back to just get the yellow armors. It feels like now he's being pushed back to just have the shards, and that's not a position you want to be in.
Man, each of these rails is so painful on the out of control player. Ash is not missing a rail. Okay, right.
It's still 72%. It's still 72%. It doesn't matter. There's no curse there, because it's still outrageous what he's hitting at the moment.
Yes. Great rocket as well. And Pavl is just actually wrecked. You can get in these holes. You can really get in these holes on Campgrounds, because there's so few items on the map to take that you can have these fights where both players can get really low, but then, everything's spawning. So it can be this mad dash, and then, okay, you commit yourself to go and pick up that thing that just that is next spawning, and both of you are low, and then that guy that's already ahead, either got the frag, he gets the kill again, and then now you're in this like sunk cost fallacy where you're like, oh no, I've given away like 3 kills to try to punish this guy that's low, and now I'm like in a massive deficit, and it's just because the game's gotten away from me. And I feel like that's kind of what that game looked like.
Yeah, I mean, you do try to invest sometimes, right, to make it back, and sometimes it doesn't work, and that was an example of it. I loved the opening minutes in that game. It felt like the positioning, trying to get on the items, both players were doing a solid job of it, but Ash just mechanically reigning supreme there. So yeah, amazing. I love an early GG. there is nothing wrong with an early. I feel like I haven't seen early GGs because contractually we couldn't have them before. So I'm fully on board of just being able to recognize you're getting owned and hey, hang on, let's switch it up, go to map 2.
Yeah, there are some maps definitely, if everybody's sort of agreeing that that's kind of how it's working and everyone's cool with it, I think there are some maps like Campgrounds where it does make sense to try to go for some of these like these investments, because if you know you're against a really good player, you probably feel like, again, if we talked about the dual fundamentals, if you feel like the other players got like even or like maybe even slightly ahead with you on that, they're probably going to run you into the ground. So you might want to try to get some of the cheeky fights to really be disruptive, as opposed to them being 200. They can stagger the item rotation any way they want, and they have the perfect weld to just run you into the ground. So you want to take some of those fights and be disruptive, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Like we just saw. So but Ash was hitting like an absolute monster, so that's part of it. The fact that he was hitting so many rails, I feel like he's not hitting that hard every time.
Production, sorry, we are in map 2 by the way, so that's they got started really damn quickly. Apologies, guys. Sorry. As you were saying, I was also getting distracted, DDK. So what happened off the beginning of there, for the guys who missed it, is Ash spawned on the LG, and Pavl spawned basically by rail, but rushed the mega health. So what happened is Ash won the fight with LG despite not having the mega stack, and Pavl kind of just ran backwards in a straight line and took a beating there.
And I would expect, even though Ash has a 2-frag lead, if I'm Pavl, which I'm not, but if I were, I would be trying to, knowing it's blood run, I'd be just like, let's stem the bleeding. Let's try to play the one yellow game, if that's what it's going to be, and just cycle the yellows, start to build up your stack, try to steal an item time so that you know when the big items are coming up. You've got the mega that's in the low ground. That's kind of the dive item. And I mean, this is the problem though. These rails, it's like every time that rail happens, it's like another 25 seconds is added to Pavl's time that he's able to come back into the game.
I just feel like I'm like calibrating my understanding so much of the level of these players. Right now, it feels like Ash is playing like 300-400 EO more than Pavl. It's just playing amazingly at the moment. And historically, I would have said that they were either relatively even, or that Pavl, I would say, was the slightly better player between the two of them. But a lot happens in however long it's been, 7 years. Ash has been doing his homework with the grenades, and that is 4-0 already. And Pavl is just trying to get himself some kind of weapon, and not even 2.5 minutes in, it's just a smackdown over here.
Yeah, this is very unusual, I would say, for Blood Run, because you want to be able to, essentially control the game. Every fight that you have, if there's like a high instance of fights, is a potential for your opponent to hit some extra damage and be really cheeky. So you want to control the fights. You want to try to play the chip damage. You want to build up your stack. You want to be calculated with how you get into the game. But I think we had a situation here, Zeus, similar to Blood Run, where Pavl got like maybe a poor start and got down early, and instead of the normal reaction to like really turtle off of that, he just kept doubling down.
Yeah. That is the thing, it's almost tilting because it was a rubbish start. It kind of, made his own luck to some extent, but he's not back down at all, really. Ash is going to get himself the mega health. Pavl is going to, you need at least a minute and a half to recover normally in this scenario, but Pavl doesn't even look like he's willing to spend 30 seconds recovering.
And this does call into question too, what is the pecking order in a tournament? Is Ash, with this kind of form, knowing also how good he is as a dueler, instantly becomes like a favorite to win today for me.
Agent is certainly the big gun for me in this tournament. Again, I don't really know how he compares with Ash, but when I'm, watching the activity of his stream, the sort of comments that people have, the sort of respect that people have regarding Agent's game, I feel like surely he's a favorite, but again, I keep seeing a player like Zenaku. It's like, oh, no one's going to be better than him. And now it's like, okay, no one's going to be better than Ash. And it's just, it's just remarkable what these guys are doing at the moment. And frankly, I haven't watched enough of Agent lately to really know how he compares versus this.
Yeah, he's been playing. He's been playing Rafa as much as he can, I guess. Whilst Rafa has been, around in Europe, because he's back in NA again for about a month, I think, before he goes back to Europe again. But the time that he was playing Agent, Agent did look pretty good. Like, he looked pretty good. There is something that's particularly scary about Rafa, though, that where he is, that innately he is a cut above.
Yeah.
But Agent is still absolutely excellent. And I think, that cut aboveness is about like how you perform on LAN. And that's something that we know with Rafa. It's like unquestionable.
Exactly. And Pavl just taking that down is like, what do I even do now? I can't even really rock it up to the red armor that spawns. I think he's got positioning on Ash, but if there's a vertical rail that comes out, he's railable right now. Somehow Pavl is stringing together some great shots. And there is the mega health. The problem is on ZTN is like, oh, an 11 frag comeback? That's beyond the realms of possibility in any sort of typical game on this map. You can run away to your heart's content. Maybe we can see Pavl bringing it back to 4 or 5, but maybe not even that. Yeah. GG at that point. It's like, yeah, I can't even begin this comeback at this point. I'll go up the bounce pad. I'm now on 2 HP. Yeah, sod it. That was a pretty quick series. I wasn't expecting it to go down like that at all. Again, chat, please inform us of your opinion. I mean, is that something that people were expecting? Because it wasn't. I was like, Pavl, hey, he's the old hero. He'll get this done, but not even a chance.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a journey of discovery.
Yes.
Seeing sort of like where people are at right now, and definitely some surprises. So, yeah, I'm super curious to see like how this progresses. This is a single elimination at this point in the tournament, so that means that Pavl's been eliminated. So Ash moving on forward. Super curious to see that potential Agent matchup, because it does feel like they should, in theory, be the two best players in the tournament. Because we know that Agent's got some form right now. We know that he's got form.
So we've got some stats here from the first map, but while we look over that, again, it's interesting now because the graphs are changing a little bit since we had slightly more even control at the beginning. I am very much focusing also on the bracket at the same time, because we've got a new range of matches coming up. We're looking to lock down some people that we want to see play. Swex versus Agent. I don't know if they've played already. I don't know who Swex is. Ash is going to go up versus Ince next. We know who Ince is, but is he someone who is really a challenge for Ash? I don't know. We're waiting for the outcome of Backstein's game and Zenaku's game. If they win their respective games, that could be an interesting match. So I don't really know what I'm looking to pick at this point. But yeah, happy to take it back to the stats if you like. I don't know if you had any additional thoughts on that yourself, Dan.
No, it's just cool because we saw we can see more of a representation, in terms of the DM6 game, the Campgrounds that we first saw, where you see it initially with the mega pickups and the red armor pickups. So things are a little bit more contested to begin with, but I mean that 72% rail that really that really kind of started to snowball things, and I would expect that Bloodrunner will look actually a lot more dominant than this based on what we saw. So, because that Campgrounds was pretty even, like it was pretty contested at the first like 2-3 minutes before it got away from Pavl. So, I mean, that's really the major comments I would have, I suppose, with the stats here. But yeah, looking forward, I'm curious how Inz will do because I saw in streaming as well. He looks like he's in pretty good shape in terms of his mechanics and everything like that. I don't know like the volume of dueling he's been doing, so I couldn't say for that. But Inz was always like a solid duelist, so I think he can definitely be dangerous to any player.
Yeah, he seems to go sort of 1 year he decides he wants to be a player, the next year he decides he wants to be a caster, and he sort of rotates like that a lot. I guess now he's in player mode, and then I saw that King Con have announced something, so maybe at the end of the year he'll go back to caster mode. I'm not really sure how it's going to be. I think comments Backstein dominated Agent until he had to quit Diabotical. Also, Backstein, was really good at Diabotical actually. So I don't know. Can he able to translate that back into Quake Live again? It's making me really question which match we go to next. I'm trying to get my head around the those graphs though, like as the time goes on, it's something. Yeah, I'd love to get it back, Arch, if we can get that one back on. So as the time progresses, I'm seeing the numbers grow. And I'm just trying to get my head around the sort of how does this linear format of the graph work? If you can translate for my broken mind, Dan.
So I think as time goes on, you see the amount of pickups.
So it's like minute. There's the minutes
so
at
like
the bottom.
it's the total pickups. Yeah, so you got time at the bottom, and then it's the total pickups at the bottom. I think because the game forfeited, you could see that as it goes on. Actually, yeah, it was forfeited, right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, so
right.
you can see it just stays at 6-4 at a certain point. But over time, you see, okay, at the first minute there was like 3 pickups for Ash, and the second minute there's 4 pickups for Ash. You can see that he's progressively getting more and more megas, and is getting starved on the megas. And then similarly in the red armors, you can see that basically the first one that was picked up by Pavl was at the 2nd minute mark, and he never got another one.
Yeah, brutal. Jesus Christ. So as I said, there must be more numbers on the other side, right? But there's just not, because the player's getting dominated each time.
Yes.
And likewise, you're seeing on the frags, it's like there's 1, and then it goes back to nothing because I think he lost the kill. So, but yeah, because he would have forfeited. So that's like you self-kill at that point. So the number doesn't stay there like it does with the items. But yeah, I think it says blank there because that happens if players forfeit games. I know that's something that happened with Quake Champions stats as well. It's something kind of similar, which I think is part of the reason they asked them to not forfeit. But this the Quake nuances there. That's what we deal with.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. I can't wait till we see like a close. I thought that this series was going to produce. This was so fast.
This is the one
for like Eastern European Quake, where you've got a blood run. Like how is this game over in basically 10 minutes across the entire series? That actually does not compute.
Who taught the Russians how to aim? That didn't used to be a thing, right? That's like, I remember a long time ago there. Like, if you used to add a stereotype to like each nation's play style within Duel, Russia was never aim. Not until later on, at least when Evil really started like kicking it up a huge notch. Like his aim became amazing, but it's always control-oriented game. Like Cooler, I think, personified that a lot. But yeah, Ash is just hitting like an absolute truck at the moment. So I guess the mechanics continue to excel as time goes on.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think actually that's something that's been of interest, like massive interest to me, is how, like, in what ways that's been going on. Because, you know, of course over time we got better equipment, and that's still kind of happening. Although I feel like we hit that tipping point a while ago where pretty much everything is really good. So at this point, you know, it's you know, not going to get too many upgrades there. And actually, you know, thinking about that, like zooming back to the early 2000s, you know, the whole like Russian style as it's known developed, which is like how Rafa actually plays still, where, you know, you have your keyboard on your lap, and you've got the kind of mouse and the pad like directly like in front of you, and you're kind of sitting at the side of, you know, kind of like in a weird angle to the table. Like that conserves a lot of space. And partially the reason was because desks were small. We didn't have like gaming mouse pads. That wasn't a thing yet. So mouse pads were small, and you know, the sensitivities were really high. So, and people use mouse excel. I think all that stuff is related. So it's interesting now as we, you know, zoom to the future, as well, we're now in the present, where all of the best practices have like massively improved. And there's lots of ways to improve your ceiling with aiming. And I feel like people didn't really think about how to do that in the past. Like there was like basic ways you might try to train your aim, but these days, if you really want to like go down the rabbit hole, you can improve. Like anyone can get really sick aim if you do the right things, and the information's out there now. So yeah, very interesting to see how that will impact Quake.
You're sort of an aim evangelical. I don't know, am I saying it right? That's I feel like that's been at least what I've been seeing of your brand and your content. Are you playing the Kovacs, or are you loyal to another brand of aim trainer?
I actually worked for Aimlabs for a couple of years, and it was actually kind of interesting because I didn't know about the aiming communities, which is kind of where all of the knowledge comes from essentially at this point. But I went and worked for Aimlabs because of you know, I had someone who was working there, and he's a friend, and he thought like I would kind of be a good fit, so I ended up working there, and then that's how I discovered the aiming community. And I was like, wait, hang on, so you're telling me that so how people treat like pro Quake or CS or Valorant, like any esport, there are people that do that, but just with like aim trainers. Like, wait, what? I had no idea that existed. And then I'm like, okay, well, these guys must know something that I don't know. They must know. And so that is true, and it goes very, very far. They've managed to, I think, kill so many different myths about aiming, which, you know, people don't really have a great basis except just like anecdotal, like things that people have passed down from, you know, from the years, like stuff like the sensitivity like matters, right? You know, you can get good with any sensitivity is really the truth, and it doesn't actually matter that much. Like the whole muscle memory thing doesn't actually matter that much. So like that and like so many other things, they've formalized it, they've quantified it, they've got, you know, lots of documentation on how they categorize it, and they've gone like super deep and like first principles with mouse control. So that's been really fun just to discover that in like this year. Because we were always like, you know, Quake was always the game where if you played Quake, it's like synonymous with like, oh, you have like sick like mechanics and aim. That like all the Counter-Strike players would respect you, like that, you know, all the players, you know, from other games would respect you for that. But you know, times are kind of changing. So I just thought it's fascinating that you know, there is still like all this discovery of these new ideas and this like work being done with something like aim, which we've been doing for a long time. So yeah, that's what I've been exploring.
Sirius at the top of that community somewhere, or maybe once upon a time. I don't know. Sorry, Sirius. Guys, I think we're going to take a short break. We've got Ints versus Ash coming up next, and I think we're going to have a wave of more matches coming up straight after that. So bear with us for a few minutes, and we'll be back with the Project Velocity EU Cup #1 of the next game.
Difficult. They say, oh, it's already okay here. Why you still want to move up there? It's getting more dangerous, whatever. So that means along this way, the higher you want to go, the more likely you're gonna walk alone. This is the next thing. Along the way to mastery, you walk the way alone. Repetition, repetition, repetition.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to Project Velocity, the first European Cup of hopefully thousands, millions of Quake Live Cups. That's what I heard, Zoo. That's what they told me.
I believe that's exactly what they told us. Yes, thousands more EU Cups to happen. Yeah, we're moving into Ash versus Ints next. This is going to be a quarter final, I believe, as he quickly skips over to a second monitor to check that one out. Yes, indeed. The winner of that game will go versus the winner of Swex versus Agent. And because the players are on the server at the moment, I thought I'd break down the maps for you guys quite quickly too. We are going to get a T7 very early on. That is going to be picked by Ints. We're going to get ZTN or Blood Run second, and then Campgrounds third. We're really getting a sort of similar flavor of maps each time so far. There's some map I know, Dan, you're craving Arrow Walk. Please shut up about it.
For Arrow Walk. And it's just not fair.
It is just, I honestly, I'm really craving a Lost World, the M30. I really want, I don't know why it is at all, but it was one of my favorite maps to watch, not so much to play. I used to love watching, and we got Baxter in the tournament. He's kind of a newer school player who managed to somehow bring all these new tricks to the map and surprise the older school players with them. And for some reason, just this control-based map, no railgun, just always, I don't know, gave me the willies when watching it. Or was that weird?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I mean, it's all good, man. We're in a safe space. Yeah, Backstein, it was really kind of a sensation for sure, just sort of like you're describing. I remember his rockets being like really, really sick, and his movement. Yes. I think that's what you're referring to with the tricks, right? Like
he had
like really
grenade
cool timings and stuff.
It was this grenade. I can't even remember exactly what he looked like, but he had this grenade jump, which would take him from, I think, the middle platform up to rockets. I think he would send a grenade up. He'd go through the teleporter at the bottom by the 50 health bubble. And then with the grenade coming up, he'd then bounce onto the rockets. And that was just so cool. Yeah, we got the game starting though. We'll talk about Baxi later. We don't know yet if we're going to get that game. But Ints versus Ash is beginning in the quarterfinal. And we are starting on Ash's point of view.
Yeah, this is going to be really fun. Ints, super solid all-round build-up, and Ash is really on a tear at the moment. Very bad spot for Ash, actually. So this is kind of perfect for us because so In's able to get that initial kill, and now it's about converting, trying to get the item pickups. Unable to get the rail just yet. Doesn't want to drop here. It can't really. He's going to take too much damage if he tries to challenge there. So each player sort of settling to their respective items that are safe for now, and we look to sort of the mega and the red, and they're both spawning at the same time, Zoo.
So is Ash going to keep pushing the issue over here? Because he could go back and get an item. It's a bit lethal for Ints up here. And he managed to dodge the rail. I think he can get over to the red armor quickly. Ash does apply pressure, but if we've got a good split on items, I'm liking this challenge that we have here. But this is the opening minute. There's plenty of time for things to go wrong for one of these players or the other, and that's it. It's gone wrong for Ints. 10 HP. I don't think you get out of this.
Oh my god! I just Ash's approach there, like you said, he could have just split the items. I feel like this is the classic dual approach that you take the safe thing, and he had the rail advantage and everything, but he stays out there to keep fighting, and then actually just creates this weird spot. You can see Inns is actually unsure because he was not expecting that too, and these rails from Ash have been extremely potent, and Ash knows it, and he's bullying Inns, who actually has insanely good mechanics with his aim right now. So. Ash is really impressive.
I'm curious to see how In's going to adapt to what Ash is doing, because he's being a lot more aggressive than you typically expect, leaving the major items up. Good damage from In's, actually. He's dropping down and caught Ash. What? How did he manage to catch Ash with his pants around his ankles just then? Gets the kill with a couple of HP remaining and is going to retain an advantage.
That's beautiful. That's great work from Inns, and that's. I don't think we've seen Ash get caught off guard yet. That's the first time. And now we see the pressure being put onto Ash. So Inns with a nice rail, doing some chip damage. But sadly for Inns, he's going to have to do a lot more work to convert. And the timing is beautiful for Ash as he dives down with the rockets, catches Inns, and that is a massive setback for Inns. Inns was in a spot to start stacking up and start leveraging the advantage. But now, another sick rail from Ash to convert. That is just heartbreak for Inns.
He flew too close to the sun then, putting pressure on that rail area. The red armor wasn't coming up soon. I think he's trying to play Ash's game a bit too much, get up in his face like Ash was doing. He just didn't have the stack to back it up on that occasion. And now Ash has got a chance to recuperate with a mega health. I don't think this yellow's up. But I think he could hurt Ince picking one up. Oh, that's brutal. The opening direct rocket, and that's going to lead him into an advantage in the kills.
Really interesting start from these two players. Very dynamic. And that red up, you can see Ash is just sort of just delaying it a little bit, but also, you know, keeping that high ground gives them the opportunity to maybe, you know, catch a rail. If Ince was going to like shoot a rocket down for pressure, thinking it's safe, Ash would catch him with damage. So Ince manages to avoid that, but he is very low right now. So he's not really interested in a challenge. And because of that, he's unable to do anything to that mega. So no chip damage, nothing. 200 Ash is the first moment here, 3.5 minutes in, that we see this. And Ash, after this red comes up, he's going to have a good like 20 seconds to really pile on the pressure to try to go for the kill.
Just some quick housekeeping. I know some people asking about the Project Velocity skin. Apparently there's a small glitch with the T7 one, so we are playing on the default skin for that one.
Okay, so nice connection there onto Ash, but you can see that that chip damage is immediately resolved by Ash. With the pickups, the dive down once again. It was good the first time and the second time as well, and able to convert against Inz. I think Inz expected something like that kind of a play for the red, but just really wasn't able to do anything. I mean, Ash was 200, so it's going to be hard to stop that.
I was quite impressed that Ince somehow managed to keep his positioning there, but they both kept hitting direct rockets on each other. And as you say, 200 is going to win that one. Again, I'm liking Ince's damage output. I like what he's trying to do, but he's got to find his way to an item advantage somehow. And right now, he's on about 5 points of health. There we go. I was going to say, how is he not dead already? Red armor's up. Ince has spawned back over into the Mega Health room. And that yellow in Mega Room will have spawned, but how on earth are you going to get there at this point? You know that Ash is looking to put pressure on this.
Yeah, and you can see that like Inz is trying to do as best as he can to slow the game down, which I think he's doing a good job of that so far. 5 minutes to go, 3 frag deficit, not unrecoverable by any stretch, but Ash is definitely looking dangerous. He's not looking like he's going to try to just settle on this advantage. He's looking like he's very happy to get aggressive and keep the pressure on, which is one of the best ways to play in this spot to defend your lead, is to keep the aggression going. And here is a potential catch. Here as Ash looks to find Ince, maybe at this lower yellow. Eliminating that as a possibility, though.
Ince is down at the bottom middle between red and Mega Health at the moment. So Ince should hear him now and know what item he's able to go to. So he should find himself another yellow. And again, as you say, Ince has to play that defensive game and get on the items. And he's been doing a remarkable job, but suddenly that rail does set him back a rotation at least.
Yeah, Mega's coming up. And it's an interesting spot because Ash has, decisions. Indoor, you can, as a guy that's in control, you know that they're so afraid of, well, hang on, hold that thought, because Ash looking to pursue through the choke, and Inz is forced to try to defend this. He's going to have to play for his life. Able to get back behind the choke and escape, but he took a lot of damage. But he's alive, which is what matters.
He saw the delay on the red armor just then, which was really, really useful for Ash for Inz into the upcoming fights. Again, a quick rail. He's railable again. Has to get out of there. And Ash finds him on the teleporter exit. And just being suffocated by this control that Ash has. And if Ince can do a good 200, 300 damage to him, then he'll catch a break off the spawn a little bit. But there is no catching a break at the moment. 6-1 for Ash.
Ash actually looks insane.
Yes.
He looks so good. Yeah, and he's just delaying the items again just to make sure there's enough of a gap, like mentioned, and he's just like really perpetuating this control. Ooh, this is a good potential bit of damage from Inz, able to get these rockets around the pillars. That's a great way to set Ash back, but this Mega's coming up. Can Inz follow this up to Mega? It looks like he's trying to do so, and he's able to get that lightning gun damage in there, potentially denying this Mega. Oh my god, he's sliding around but still connects the rail, and again, he is just unbelievable with these rails. He can't miss.
I really thought Ince was going to manage to get the algae lift at the Mega Health. He lost. Yeah. That was his big opportunity to get back into the map. and then he loses mega health in just outrageous railing from Ash. Just again looking at the teleporter. I think the yellow in this room is the next item spawning, but he's not managed to find Inns.
Maybe Ash is going to be... Maybe I'm being a bit too excited right now, but he's really looking very scary, I should just say. You know, because these rails is making such a huge difference, and Inns gets caught. Great damage, though. Ash down to 70 or 16.
No!
Can a bit of extra damage come in? No, that's so frustrating for Inns.
He had him. He had the kill there. He was waiting for him, but it just didn't happen. Inns manages to get himself onto the red armor. Ash is low on stack at this point, but you've got less than 120 seconds to make anything happen. I don't think he really has the right weapons to challenge here. Oh, couple of decent rockets. How is he hitting these rails through the grates?
Don't you dare, Ash. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
no. And the perfect spawn for Ash to take down Inns and just get himself the red. That's just...
You have to take the risk, though, right? You have to go in and hope that you can get the red armor. There's no other way that you're getting close to the 8 frags that Ash has got.
It feels so impossible to push into Ash. He's just going to hit you with a rail every time. And then at that point, now you have less stack. And so the push looks terrible. Nice shot, though, from Inns. Oh, building some momentum here with these rails. Maybe you can find a finish here onto Ash. But there's a minute to go for 8 frags. I don't think Ash is ever letting that happen.
Ash has got
you would have to be trolling.
Yeah, Ash has got 1,000 more damage than it's just with the railgun alone. Overall, only 200 damage difference between the two players, which isn't bad. But you're looking at over 50% rail for Ash.
Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild stuff. We'll have to see if Inns can find a more fortunate start on the next map. But I mean, he got a good start on this map, actually.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it was a very good start. But again, it's just that war of attrition. Ash starts to get the control, and again, you get suffocated out of it. I respect the efforts that Ints made to try to get himself back in the map. He did play on the yellows and sometimes not on any yellows whatsoever. But he makes himself back into the game, but it's too little, too late for him. It's 8-2 for Ash in map number 1.
Yeah. And it says 48% rail for Ash, but it really felt like when the rails really counted, he was not missing a single one, which is, I mean, that it had to be very frustrating for Inns because Inns created a lot of good moments, especially with a sort of a surprise attack. I think when he was initially down, maybe a couple of kills, but I think the most important moment for me was that decision when both items were up early in the game, and you expected, like you called, for them, the players to split the items. That's kind of the normal duel thing to do because it feels like higher percentage. Ash goes for fights, and he creates this spot where Inns is actually kind of confused for a second. He's like, why are you doing this? And he has to like figure it out. He's like, okay, do I go for the red right now? And then there's this weird like switcheroo, and then Inns did actually end up on the worst end of it, which was so wild to see.
Yeah, it was just this is not the standard play. How do I calibrate quickly? And Ash has just disrupted this so much. What I wanted to comment on the end of that T7 is I did see, which was good that damage was equal despite how much extra control Ash had over it. It was encouraging to see that Ints actually managed to get more yellow armors. Ints got more yellow armors than Ash in the end, which is what you want to see. Someone playing out of control, you need to get on the yellow armors more. I'm hoping he doesn't have to retort to that type of strategy moving now into ZTN. But I felt like we're getting to a point in the tournament where the games are getting closer. I'm impressed that Ints is putting up this level of a fight, but we're getting into Blood Run territory, and there's, again, I mean, I used to say it, so Russians playing Blood Run is just, what does the opponent do at this point? Am I allowed to be generalized as much as that? Is that appropriate at this point? I'm not really sure. There's always been something fearsome for me in Quake Live. The Russian community, we know how close they are to this map.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is synonymous with dueling in that region. It's completely synonymous. In fact, a lot of Russian players, or at least there was a sense that it was like a garbage, like the only like actual tactical map, for many players that I've talked to in the old days, are like, Blood Run is the only tactical map. If you take them to like an aerial walk or a DM6, there's too much aiming, going on. They want it to be slower. They want to play the items and the armors and stuff. So
exactly, yeah. And looks like, guys, we're going to get into map number 2 quite quickly. Ints versus Ash, moving into Blood Run. Ash is 1-0 up in maps, and we are going to start on Bruno Ints Pereira.
Also get the plasma initially. Some decent damage, but Inns has been knocked down massively by that shotgun, but barely escapes. So able to stack up, but the question is, who's going to be able to challenge for that first red armor? And Inns does not have the weaponry to do so. He doesn't have an LG, he doesn't have a rail to get the long range damage in, doesn't have the rockets. So Inns is kind of forfeiting this big red that's coming up next, and he's essentially effectively starting out of control because of that. He has no way to fight those mid ranges.
This is why I said you don't want to go to this strategy straight away, and he happens to be there. Still, neither a rail, nor a rocket, nor a lightning gun. But he has got the top yellow that's been his friend lately.
Yeah, and it makes sense for him to try to play this slow and respect the fact that, okay, I might be out of control, but it's Blood Run. I'm 0-0.
Yeah.
Going in the frag deficit is a significant problem. And I think it's always more preferable to just give it up and just accept that, okay, I got to try to work my way into an LG. I got to try to work my way onto a rail. I got to try to work my way onto some mega times, but I can't challenge it just yet. I need to get a rocket at some point and just build slowly. And that's what Inns is doing. He's going for a very classic approach for duel here on this map.
Oh my god!
He's getting caught though. He's too exposed, and Ash is going for it. He luckily connects a direct grenade, and that's going to keep him safe for now.
Genuinely, I thought Ash was just going to not stop chasing there. It just felt like that's what he wanted to do. He still retained a massive amount of control, didn't overcommit. I think you have to give some level of respect. And that's almost the nice thing that Ash actually did give Ints some respect then. I think that says something about the level that Ints has, at least in combat, that he can make something mad happen with this limited amount of weaponry. But we now have almost 2 minutes of play with Ints totally out of control, and he still hasn't found a rail or a rocket launcher.
Yeah, he's finally he's not even going towards the rocket just yet.
No.
And he's just trying to and this is the one risk with this playstyle is you're trying to basically see where your opponent is going to be, and then you're going to pick a position which allows you to kind of get out of dodge. But Inns going back for the yellow. Ash is happily challenging that after hitting 2 rails. Inns is not long for this world, surely. He's on 5 HP, able to pick up the 25. So here comes Ash for the finishing blows, and there it is. And it just seemed like Inns was... I think that initial grenade challenge around the Mega, that really set Inns back pretty massively. I think he was in a good spot when Ash was going to take that Mega to pick up some items. But I think he wanted to try to steal it from Ash. So Ash was not having any of that.
Again, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like Ints has to take a plunge for the rockets or rail a little earlier. Because he's just quite helpless at that mid or long range, at least when trying to defend Ash from coming around the corner. Grenades are just not reliable enough. Neither is the plasma. And again, we're getting just these LG rail combos that are just completely shredding it. Unbelievable rail shots there. 4-0 now for Ash.
Yeah, this is a complete, totally shut out of control. And those when the in control players are railing like that too, it can feel impossible to get back in. And this is the reason why there's that extra level of dueling where you just vanish from the map. That you don't give them the opportunity to hit a rail, and before you actually have stack that will allow you to do something in return. For
some context, sorry for interrupting.
Go ahead.
There's not been a single major item picked up by Ints so far, and they have the same amount of yellows picked up, which is 8. Yeah. I mean, it's only 4 minutes in, but to turn this round for Ints is going to be a heroic effort. And I almost feel like this is a point of pride for Ash, is to not give up a major item.
Yeah, it's hard to pick your spot. Normally, you're going to be thinking of going for the Mega because, again, like I mentioned, it's that dive item, but sometimes you can find other spots around red as well. It depends on how damage damage falls because as the in control player is going in between items, which is usually a somewhat predictable path. If you're the out of control player, you should understand that path and try to exploit it with damage by moving around into better positions because you're able to understand where they are, and so you can go where they're not.
Sorry, I was enjoying Ash's bind, saying he's not impressed by his performance.
Yeah.
Encouraging, though, that Ince has actually got himself the trifecta of weaponry now. And good damage, really good damage from Ince. There might be a chance to challenge for a major item at some point soon. That's the big play. He's actually marginally outstacking. Red is available for him. It's just, does he know how weak Ash is? How does Ash react that quickly outside of the teleporter?
Yeah, decent damage from Ince, but this is the problem. Ash is able to fall back onto everything, and then you have nothing. You're on an island, but that's a great defensive rel. And for once, Ash not trading the damage back, and Ince in a potentially good spot. 1 HP for Ash, but still connects. That is brutal for Ince.
He went for the rel. He went for the holy play there, but it did not happen. I'm really, really loving the effort that Ince is putting into this, but he's just getting caught out. And I think his timing for the items is not exactly perfect. I think he's doing it a bit more by feel, which is maybe why he didn't have the confidence to just play for the red a little sooner in one of those earlier fights. And now you can see Ash's 200, 150. Pain train is on.
Yeah, Ash really looks like the full package right now. And yeah, this lead is so hard to recover at this point. You can definitely see that Ince has had some great ideas with what he should be doing, but we haven't seen many misses from Ash in these key moments. And this is a bit of comedy.
So we got the first major item for Ince.
6 minutes in.
Publicly announce that to everybody. Sorry, Ince, I'm not making fun of you. It's just really what Ash is doing. That's amazing.
Yeah, totally suffocated Ince. This is a problem. So Ince trying to build up once again on working these yellows, but Ash able to steal that one. The timing didn't work out for Ince. Like if he stuck around, he would have definitely probably taken more damage, like more than 50 damage. So he's like, oh, it's not even worth staying for this yellow. And just like you're saying, Ash is able to fall back onto everything. So it's really tough because you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't when it comes to like taking some of the fights here for Ince.
Oh, okay, he gets himself on, but LG damage completely cripples him. He's hoping for a rocket bounce there that could lead to a somewhat more fortunate fight, but not a chance.
Ooh, chance for Ince potentially, but I guess that rail damage was too much off the spawn. When Ash is missing, it's like not a key shot that he has to hit, so it's like not mattering too much.
I've got 3 reds now for Ince so far. Again, his damage, he does well with what he has, but when I'm clicking tab and seeing the difference in the items and resources that these players have to deal with, it's impressive what Ash is able to do. Another kill for Ash. Again, felt marginally vulnerable for a moment, but there's the red armor that's going to take away all that pain.
Can't even attack from that position with only a rocket. It's not able to really fight back against the LG. So free red for Ash to recover, and then Ash can put the pressure back on. Great rel as he drops onto the mega, and seamless control from Ash. And I mean that's hard to do. Like it's just hard to do against a player that's as good as Ince, because Ince is a good player. He's like a really good player. So
I'm. Maybe help me with this, because Ince banned Sinister. It's a ban pick format that we've got. I mean, I guess he probably hasn't played a lot of Sinister lately, but I can't see why you would keep Bloodrun in the map pool against a player like Ash. Even with like, it's like maybe it's like, okay, if I ban Bloodrun, he picks Sinister, but I think I would personally still hedge my bets and go with Sinister over it.
I felt like Ince used to be a really good Sinister player back when the map was newer, especially. I remember playing him a lot back in those days, and he was very good at it. But, I mean, maybe you feel like you're not going to get railed as hard on this map. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say, honestly. But I guess, you know, Inspire just picking into his own confidence. I think that's what I would try to do.
For sure.
In this kind of a situation, but as we can see, it's like, you know, he was able to keep it like to, I think, what, 0-4 for a while, but he wasn't able to like build. And that's the key thing that you should, in theory, be able to do on this map out of control. Is it should be one of the easier maps to build your stack out of control compared to some of the other maps. So given that it was this difficult for Ins to do so, is a testament, I think, to also how sick Ash is right now.
Yeah. Definitely. But GG, Ince, you put up a valiant fight. I enjoyed that wholeheartedly. However, Ince is going to be dropping out of the tournament in 5th to 8th position, and that does mean that Ash is confirmed going to be playing versus Agent in the semi-final. We are going to go that one later. We're going to hold that because I think Backstein versus Zenaku is going to happen beforehand. But obviously, we still got some things to break down on this one. I think we're going to see some of the stats. I'm kind of curious again how those items are going to look for us. I'm just amazed at how Ash is continuing to surprise at the beginning of T7. As you've mentioned, an orthodox duel game gone wrong fast. and it seems like the series kind of almost ended at that point when he didn't play into Ince's expectations.
Yeah, there's for all of the Quakers who are watching, which is of course many of you. You'll all remember the quote from Kula, which is, you know, essentially you need to know when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive. And the thing about that is that although it seems like, and in the context of that, of like, you know, he's addressing strengths at that point, you know, so it had this extra kind of flavor to that dynamic and everything. But principally speaking, that is so much of the trick about Duel, because you could see that's like what Zoo was referring to on Furious Heights. He picks these spots to be aggressive, where it's kind of a fine line, but he understands the risk super well and executes the dual fundamentals behind it. And so he puts on pressure. He makes Ins, you know, he puts Ins in a really weird spot that's difficult for Ins, very disruptive. Then on Blood Run, you see like a different version for Ash. He's not playing as aggressively, but he knows precisely the moments when to get a little bit more aggressive to put the pressure on and start converting. So that's such a fine line, and I can't really express enough how difficult it is to understand where that line is when you're playing.
Has the time to be aggressive gotten shorter, or like it's gone sooner or later now? Is it over time? Like, if Cooler's philosophy changed over time, has it evolved? So if Strengths kept playing, would now he find the right times to be aggressive? I'm so tired, DDK. Help me with what I'm trying to say. It's like the linear time of when to be aggressive changed over the years. I think we need a deep dive into. We absolutely don't need to deep dive into this at all. But it does feel like there's more aggression now than at least the duels I'm trying to remember from like 2014 off the back of my head. At least the way Ash was playing it, I was like, this just suddenly got like spicy.
I think a lot of that, I think, started to change too with Evil. I think Evil was one of the revelations there, where it's like, whoa, you can actually fight like in these spots and be aggressive with the LG in these spots. And it was like kind of unorthodox, but he was able to do so at such a high level that it kind of, I think it did kind of change the way the meta kind of worked a little bit. I think also a lot of players coming out of Quake Champions, where the game became quite aggressive too. Maybe there's a lot more limit testing going on, and like you highlighted as well, people's mechanics are overall kind of improving over time still. Even if it's marginal, I mean, across a long period of time, it's really adding up, and perhaps, you know, creating this effect where the meta of when and where you can be aggressive is becoming more frequent because people can hit really hard.
Yeah, no, it's true, because mechanics have just gone mad in Quake Champions. I remember just thinking about Evil again. He seemed to, and I'm sure this was part of the high level strategy, but it was just calculating exactly when you're changing weapon and punishing you in that sort of the tiniest delay. It would take you that extra tenth of a second to change weapon, and by that point he already seems to have drummed down like half your stack. Just giving me like a flashback of why now I remember Evil being such a brutal player for players to go against. I'm seeing that maps are being picked at the moment, and players are starting to move into the maps that are going to be played. should we take a break? And I think we can come back in a couple of minutes. I think that works, right? Or did we miss some stats, Arch? Tell us what you want us to do, and we'll do it. Arch is our producer. Yeah, let's have a quick look at stats, and then we'll go to a quick break. Let's do that. There we go. So we got T7 over here, which started off quite close, and you can see that Ince was getting himself the first frags before things started to change. And then it seemed that he lost that kill. We've seen so many people almost going into negatives or going into the negatives today, which has been slightly eerie. But yeah, 12 seconds for the first frag there. And then items, while it starts off well for Ince, it's just a minute. And I imagine it's going to actually be even more brutal looking at that on ZTN.
Yeah, it's interesting because we want to see those graphs really kind of go all flippy floppy. We want to see a game that is represented in that fashion. And I'm sure we'll get to see some of those as the tournament progresses. I think especially this backseat matchup that we have coming up, I feel like that has a lot of potential.
I don't know. I don't know, Dan. Maybe it's going to be another steamroll. I have no idea, but I hope so. I just love these player names. I was seeing all these old names. And I'm like, hell yeah, what could possibly go wrong? So it'll be fun no matter what, guys. Sorry, I'll come back to my cave.
And here, you were mentioning that Ince didn't basically pick up any major items until the 6-minute mark, and you can see that reflected here on the red armors, but he never touched a mega.
Yeah.
Very, very sad for Ince, unfortunately. But yeah, Ash is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I just love seeing those stats, by the way. I just kind of wished we had those all in the earlier periods of Quake Live. But anyway, I'll keep daydreaming about that, guys. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we've got Backstein versus Zenaku.
Kilson makes a jump over towards the Mega Hell. Somehow even had the jump on it as well. But will they manage to pull it out? Look at the rails.
Look at the Digipod.
Here in overtime. Oh, but the plasma in that so. It's good rockets as he goes through the teleporter. Surely he can finish this one up. Yes, he will. We're tied up again. Here we go. LG out. And he'd already done some damage with the rocket. And he's going to finish off with lightning. There's a mega. Havek is going to call good games already.
Project Velocity.
more difficult. They say, oh, it's already okay here. Why you still want to move up there? It's getting more dangerous, whatever. So that means along this way, the higher you want to go, the more likely you're gonna walk alone. This is the next thing. Along the way to mastery, you walk the way alone. Repetition, repetition, repetition.
Welcome back, one and all. Time for some more Quake. That's what we're doing here, right, Zoom?
No,
It's Quake.
that's it. I've understood that the brief is Quake. Are you spending a lot of time doing Quake? Are you going to continue? I know you have been, but what's your plan with Quake, Dan?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep playing Quake. I'm signed up for some of the tournaments and stuff like that. I don't think I'm gonna go, like super try hard mode, but I'm gonna, play and try to improve a bit with the time that I do spend on it. So definitely doing some more Quake.
So we're expecting you in the NA Cup.
Yeah, there's one on the 3rd, so I should I'll be playing that one, I think.
Sweet,
Yeah.
awesome. I think we're getting the players ready in a second. So this is going to be Backstein versus Zenaku. T7 is going to be the first map. That's picked by Backstein. DM6, as we saw before, is picked by Zenaku. And DM13 is the potential tiebreaker map that we've got there. So sorry, though, no error walk, I'm afraid. Players, though, have now readied up so we can make our way into this game. It is a quarterfinal with Zenaku and Backstein.
Yeah, and like you said, Backstein, this was the map that he kind of became known for. Just sensational play on this map, and off the bat we get Backstein on that red armor and railgun. So both so somewhat uneventful beginning, and I feel like a lot of the starts we've had so far today have been like pretty wild. So
oh my god, so Zenaku was right around the corner just then. Backstein has managed to find him. Stack disadvantage and picked up by the LG a little bit. One rail, he's paid quite a lot of HP and armor in order to land that one, but there are some items waiting for him. So yes, Backstein's a little bit behind, but if he can protect this mega health, he's really not doing too badly. That's a big if, though.
yeah, sadly not enough time, or rather too little or too much time, sorry, before the Mega. And this finish from Zenaku it's just fantastic. The way he chased that kill up with that railgun especially, that's what we saw earlier today, is his rail was just incredibly good as well. So we'll see if he's able to continue in such fashion here. Now he's got this decisive stack, he's in control. Mega and Red are at the same time, so this presents an opportunity for Backstein to possibly steal one of those. We'll see what he's able to do to try and affect that.
I feel like Backstein was really ready to defend the Mega Health last time round, but only if he came through the top entrance. It was like, oh no, he's gone through the bottom. I can't defend against this. So I think Backstein looked like he's getting a bit caught off guard again, and we're kind of calibrating like to what level are these players able to play versus each other. We know Zenaku's playing at a high level at the moment. Can Backstein apply some pressure? He's definitely doing so with the rails at the moment.
Yeah, really nicely done there. Zenaku looking good off of those 2 rails, but Backstein trading back quite nicely. Zenaku falling onto the red, but timing is everything, and Zenaku able to steal it. And now it's looking kind of troubling here for Backstein. The defensive rockets, though, will keep him out of getting actually fragged, and he even comes back for a rail. That is surprising damage, and that might actually tip the scales here, because Backstein's a little bit ahead on the stack. And again, both Mega and Red are spawning again at the same time. So, Backstein ready with the rockets on the choke, but can't connect.
Can he get onto the Mega Health? He's actually gone for it. Amazing that he's done that. Zenaku can fall back onto the red armor. There's going to be a little switch on the yellows over here, but it's pretty neck and neck now in the first quarter of the map.
Yeah, this is very back and forth indeed. All these split red Megas. Bit of a delay between the red and the Mega this time, though. This red fight is crucial for both players. And in goes Zenaku, very low on the HP, hits a direct before going down, but still Backstein able to withstand that with plenty of health left over. So he is looking in just fantastic shape. And I think not actually hitting that rocket jump was probably very good, because the LG was waiting from Zenaku, and he's going to fight for that Mega, but Backstein's looking to stabilize it.
I'm amazed that Zenaku kept challenging for that. That was very brave of him. Here's a follow-up from Backstein. Zenaku can barely get through the doorway before he falls again. No red armor going to the Australian. Backstein's all out of rails, but Zenaku is throwing himself at him. This is the complete opposite of what we saw. Well, I guess it's not the opposite, because Zenaku actually had control when he was playing the last series that we saw him in. And now he's very much out of it.
Yes, yeah. And that's that test of, okay, how this guy can play in control. That's always a little bit easier than playing out of control. So Zenaku looking to go for a very, very fight-based approach, trying to keep that damage on. But Backstein, jumping in through that corridor, taking a lot of LG damage. That could have gone worse for Backstein. So I'm going to fall back onto this Mega yellow. But the Mega and the red at a similar time, but the red is first. So we'll see if Backstein opts to really go for this fight. He doesn't have a lot of health for it. Or if he wants to just do damage and then fall back off to the Mega. Tries to go for this red, and he takes a lot of pain for that.
Oh gosh, Zenaku's found him. 71 points of health Backstein had there. And that is not going to survive the rail. Zenaku has gained a lot of control from this. He's about to be 200-200. And a couple of frags to climb back. With these resources, you get the idea that he can actually make it. Backstein's been found. That's a good amount of damage from Backstein. And it's not enough to push him off the red, and I'm starting to ask myself if that was really worth it for him.
Yeah, it's a tough one, because now you're in a situation where Zenaku is pretty fearless and attacking these yellows, and all the items are staggered kind of nicely. So we get this Mega. It's not really a challenge. Now there's enough time to get to the red for Zenaku. He's got more than enough health and armor to dive and just take a just massive amount of damage in the course of picking it up. But he's going to leave it up for a little bit. He would want to delay it more to stagger it off of the Mega. So not at the same time. And that's exactly what is happening right now. 6-second difference. Nice roll from Backstein. Just try to keep Zenaku at bay, but
yeah, I like
see if Zenaku's able to find him.
I was liking the distance that he's played from, but Zenaku's managed to pick him off a little bit himself. So Backstein just wants to stay away from him. You don't need to close the gap at this point. But you do need to find some damage, otherwise he is going to get up into your face, and this is going to be it. Backstein manages to get himself through the teleporter, gets himself across, and gets himself to safety. But he has not managed to get rid of that massive stack Zenaku has, but I guess the fine lining there is that he hasn't died.
Yeah, and he's just got that one frag lead. So before it felt like Baxting was investing a lot to chase, but he's kind of recognized that, hey, I need to not lose my lead. And so he stopped the investment. And now Zenaku's got the 100, 200. He's just pursuing for that mega. Baxting able to try to get on top of that. It does actually pick it up. Unable to get to the LG though. So this fight is still in this open area. Could be problematic. One rail connected by Zenaku, controlling the open space with the LG. And that's going to be the finish as well. 4-4. And Zenaku has full control.
And Baxton just missed so much. Yes, he took the mega health, but for some reason he went back down into the center map. I would have just legged it around by the LG corner there. He takes the red, has taken a rail, but that's before the item was picked up. If he can get out of this room without taking too much damage, this is a big, big win for Baxine. He's broken away, which is really good. Zenaku's going to keep the control, keep the weapons. Good direct rocket, but you might need a bit more than that. There's a rail to follow up. He goes in with the rockets. Baxstein somehow pulls that off. Absolutely remarkable, because Zenaku, by the way he was playing, did not feel like he was under threat at all.
Yeah, all the defensive damage there. Like that direct rocket up at the LG, just teeing Baxine up for even more defensive damage around the red. And before you know it, Zenaku actually is in trouble, but is too committed. And here we go, Baxine turning the tables. It looks like we're trying to, a little bit low now, so things get kind of sketchy. Oh no, that is the worst possible thing for Baxine, because now Zenaku, off the back of that, all that good work, Zenaku's at 100, 150, so kind of back in control again. Presumably, if he can get these following pickups, and there's nothing coming for like 10 seconds.
He was on 1 health, and it looked like Baxton was going to secure that easily. He just reacted a fraction of a second too slow. Baxton has turned up and managed to get the steal somehow. He's done
rockets from Baxton. Imagine if he, because that was a rail miss from Zenaku. If Baxton's rocket jump actually got him in Zenaku's face there, Zenaku dies. So that's crazy. It's Baxton's rocket damage around red that's really separating the two players at this point, at least keeping him in the game, I should say. 5-5, 2 minutes to go. Pretty sketchy fight for both players. Baxton really master of these red pickups.
What?
Oh my goodness. He's just setting himself flying in the air with a rocket jump in the most, I don't even know where he's trying to go with that. And he gets railed, and that is a problem, because now it sets the stacks somewhat even, but
wow.
Ooh. This is very scary Zoom
right
now.
God.
Oh, Baxton. Nice pixel shot.
It's just did he rocket jump up again then to get that angle? I don't know how he did that. And I think that's what he was trying to do at the pillars. He's trying to rocket up just to get a rail angle. It's a shame he missed it at the time, but oh my god, Baxton with a minute to go. He's 2 frags up, and Zenaku is under pressure on map 1. This is Baxton's map, so you got to think that it's a must win.
The directs for days. Baxton's rockets, man. That's what it's all about. This matchup for me. I mean, not just the rocket jumps, but the actual rocket fights. And looking to defend this mega to see, and this would really seal the deal here. I mean, there's almost no time for there to be a comeback, so this final fight would really seal it. And Baxton with the rockets, popping him up, hitting the directs, playing it defensively, doing a great job, and there's no way to get back in now for Zenaku.
Just awesome map from both players, and Baxton he's just always such a creative player, and I'm just glad that hasn't died along the years.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and I think you're right with some of those rocket jumps. Although we didn't see all of them work out, maybe some of them miss. I mean, the ideas were good, but just missing the rocket jump itself, it really did open up some great opportunities. And backing it up with a 51% rail, strong showing from Baxton, and it started out, I feel like, looking like Zenaku was, going to be a bit dominant with the shots that he was hitting.
Genuinely, I was like, oh, is it happening again? Because we haven't seen Baxton yet today, and we have no idea what shape he's in. He's in some shape, that's for sure. It just feels like he is integrating Quake Champions mechanics into Quake Live, and I'm not really sure how he's doing it, but I absolutely love it. I love these creative rocket jumps. If Baxton goes down here in Campgrounds, then we'll get to a DM13, which is just another awesome map to watch Backstein play. I have no idea how ready Zenaku is for a Lost World, but first of all, he's got to be ready for this DM6 because it's critical for him to win this in order to progress in the competition.
Yeah, I actually really definitely favor Backstein here. We'll see off the start. Backstein is going to be in trouble because, I mean, he got some good initial damage, but the mega pickup, Zenaku able to get himself onto that item for the start. Now, it's going to be interesting because nothing's going to be spawning for a while. This yellow is up, but Backstein again, he's got great rockets. The aggression comes through, and we talked about sort of that sunk cost dynamic. This red's coming up in 12 seconds. Will Backstein off the spawn have anything to challenge? He, again, getting those rockets in, but the rails are still sick from Zenaku.
And that was early for the red armor, so I mean, I don't know what Backstein was doing there. I think he had a good guess with the timing because it was delayed quite a bit. He gets himself to the mega health, so there could be a response here. Backstein does outstack him, but there's a rail. He's going to go look for another one, but Backstein has already left. There's still no major items up for a little bit, and Zenaku should surely be able to get position here. Oh, headshot.
Wow. And there is a question for Backstein there of like how long he's trying to pursue. He got some good initial damage, but you know, pursuing for so long, his opponent's like actually already picking stuff up whilst you're pursuing for like 20 extra damage. And so I feel like Backstein there needed to try to reposition for health around the rest of the map. And I think he lost some key moments there, some key time. And now the pickup for Zenaku on that mega in falling off potentially onto this yellow if he was interested. Well, with that said, the red is coming. Backstein's not able to challenge for this.
Got delay.
Zenaku has everything now.
I'm enjoying this classic 5-second delay between red and mega health. Very well done by Zenaku. Oh, hello. As I decided, what weapon shall I take in this scenario? Either way, he's massively outstacking him. He's got a good position for the mega health at the moment, and this Backstein's going to YOLO his way in. Here's a rail. Backstein, I think, is only guessing at the red timing at this point. He does manage to steal it away, so this is where you really get the investment. There's no major items up for a while. He's now got the yellow. If he can get himself an item, there is a chance in the next 30 seconds that Zenaku is under a lot of pressure. But it all hinges on this fight, really.
Yeah, the timing of fights is so important in this game, and Backstein's just really trying to get as aggressive as he can in some of these spots, and Zenaku is able to defend so well. Oh, that rail miss, though. Backstein with a chance. 6 frag deficit, definitely very recoverable on this map, but the damage output here from Zenaku is really a problem. Just holding this spot. Whoa, what a shot. Just connecting that and the rocket jump up. I love it. Just cutting off the path of his opponent. Backstein had nowhere to go after that rocket jump. Perfect maneuver, and Zenaku is 7-0. And Backstein keeps going for the aggressions. And he's got nothing to fall back onto now, though. That's the issue.
I know he keeps dying, but Zenaku's control is hanging on by a thread at this point. It's like if Backstein lands one of those rails, Zenaku's in a bit of trouble. But I just don't think Backstein can't defend this red armor at all anymore. He had to hit one of those rails. It was crucial that he did so.
Yes, I totally agree.
And there's another one.
And it's so punishing because Zenaku has like just his average, his aim is so good on average with all of the weapons that as soon as he gets like slight stack advantages, you start really losing out, and this is what's beginning to happen. You cannot afford to miss a single shot. So playing that aggressive playstyle is really, there's a huge burden on connecting these shots, and Backstein's missing a few too many of these rails at this point. Zenaku actually just merciless.
Oh my
and there's
God.
the GG coming in from Backstein.
I was about 3.5 minutes. I think I was looking at the clock there. I was thinking along the way.
Really?
Yeah, I was thinking along the way. It's like, yes, you can get a lot of frags on DM6, but as long as you get that control back before the halfway mark, then theoretically you kind of force these areas on your opponent. But 11 frags is starting to get like a big mountain to climb for Backstein. So
Yeah.
I sympathize with the forfeit there. Guess what though, Dan? It's DM13 next. I'm going to get to see Backstein play on DM13. I am furiously excited. Yes, nothing more to add.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be interesting. I think this map Lost World is going to be a bit easier for to kind of slow down as well, because I feel like, again, like it can happen on campgrounds that you can get really stuck in that kind of aggressive cycle and it just kills you. And I think there's some moments there where that, and I think that's some of the rust maybe from Backstein, where we're seeing like aggressions in spots that don't make sense in terms of the timings, or where he's like pursuing a kill whilst his opponent's kind of gaining a lot of position, where he could have actually been falling back ready to defend the next item and keep it close. So there's lots of like these like small little errors, and against Zenaku, like if he's going to be in control, he's going to punish you really hard because his mechanics are really good. He's playing fundamentally like very strong. So but that said, Zoo, I feel like this is also a backscene map. This was historically always a great map for backscene. His rocket jumps, his flare, it comes out on a map like this.
Yeah, and he really broke out onto the scene in the Enschede LAN where he beat, I think CZM was one of his victims there, making an amazing performance on that LAN tournament. We are in the game now. This is the tiebreaker map. The winner is going to go over to the semi-finals. And Arch, would you mind going over to Backstein's point of view? I wouldn't normally ask to change specifically, but I'm just so excited to see him play this map, and I really want to see if he's going to offer us some of the old tricks that we used to see back in 2014. And that's when this map had already been played for 15 years. He suddenly started bringing new things onto the map that other pros hadn't even thought to do.
Absolutely, yeah. Backscene has always been really fun to watch, and this map is really interesting. No railgun as well, if this is a new thing for you. This map that is. For the dive onto the red. Oh dear.
Wonder if this
We'll
goes for a restart.
How we handle this exactly. Okay, so back to Cam whilst we figure that one out. But yeah, this map is really interesting because there's all these different corridors, and again, like similar to every duel map, there's this sense of like cutting off and timings, and that is, I think, one of the things that Backscene is so good at, because he's got an amazing sense of timings. His rocket jumping allows him to kind of hit timings that other players don't even attempt, and so you as the player against him, you don't necessarily think that that's a timing, so you're going to get caught off guard. And then on top of that, Backscene has excellent in-fight rocket aim, so it's a deadly combination. I think it's one of the things that made him an instant success, and sort of maybe many people instant fans of his playstyle.
Yeah, completely. And this DM13, the out of control play on this map, I think is really is quite unique, really, just in terms of how the upper hallways work, because it's quite easy to read. Okay, he's gone over to the lightning gun, so he can really only come out one of two ways, and how you have to manipulate your opponent to either chase you down one of them and take damage, or just cut you some slack, go for an item, regain their control. There's just some interesting mind tricks that the players go with here. We're getting a map restart, by the way, guys, in case you were wondering. Players immediately elected to do that, so we'll get back into the game really, really shortly. And to be honest, looking at the start of that map, yes, they both went down to the red armor. The fight actually looked surprisingly even. Maybe Zenaku slightly ahead of in control without red being taken. But I don't feel like this is a drama of any sort. It's not like it happened when it was 2-0 up or something. Yeah,
it looked as close to as even as you could probably have. So yeah, it's good that hopefully that everyone's being sort of good about it. You never know.
Yeah.
But
we've matured in the Quake scene.
Jumping back into it, so we get to witness the start right again, and Backscene off with that red armor spawn to kick things off.
There's a lot of items there for him. Get grenades, Backstein. Please get the grenades. It's not really strategically beneficial for you. I just want you to get them. Well, there's the LG, and Zenaku is checking the red spawn. Found it. And Baxter's completely okay with losing out the red. He knows he gets the rockets very cleanly at that point. He's got a timing on the mega health. It was one of the first items he picked. In the corridor here, Zenaku's kind of trapped. They're both so weak, and that last flick of LG is going to put Backstein on the board first.
And this is what we're talking about too. The rocket fights in this map are just instrumental. Really nice connections there from Backstein. I mean, Zenaku has great rockets too, but Backstein winning the day there, and sort of now the control can get scary because it can be kind of oppressive. It can be hard to chase down the kills, but at the same time for the out of control player, it's hard to actually get out of the out of control positions. And so that's where things get really tricky against a good Lost World player.
We've got red and mega health up at the same time. Zenaku does get himself onto the red armor, actually. Going to take some of those resources away from Zenaku. I mean, what else does Zenaku do in that situation? You're kind of stuck. Do you wait to get out the teleporter later? I don't really know what is the optimal play there.
Yeah, good just center map control coming in from Backstein at the moment as he cycles back onto that red. I'll be curious to see how the item pickups go here, and Zenaku in a very difficult spot. So he understands there that it's going to be a game of cat and mouse that he will eventually lose. So he goes for instant like burst damage with the shotgun to just respawn straight away and see if he can get a better spot, because Omega's coming up, but unable to get a position on that, unable to really get much going. But he gets the rocket and he hits a good connection. But LG and nothing to fight against it makes it like, oh my god.
I don't know how Zenaku got away with that. He's going to get the 50 health bubble as well, but he's right on the exit with the shotgun. And yeah, the Zenaku, just as quickly as he rose, he fell again.
That is unfortunate. It looked honestly insane that there was even a world where Zenaku could find a kill there, but unfortunately, sadly to him, the kind of outcome is Backstein has full control like 15 seconds later.
Ow.
Oh, big catch. Oh, the damage is enormous.
So I'm while we're watching Backstein do his magic here, I'm just looking at the map pick. So we had banned by Zenaku, Aerowalk, and Cure. And sure, like he obviously picked the right map. He won Campgrounds, perfect. But maybe he hasn't done his research on Backstein. This is such a strong map for Backstein. Surely, I mean, again, as you've rightfully put earlier, it's your preferences at the end of the day, what you're most comfortable on. But I'm sure an Aerowalk I would have loved to have seen Zenaku on, given how good his aim's been.
Yeah, Aerowalk would be pretty sick. But yeah, it's getting impressive, this control from Backstein. I think Zenaku's found some good moments to get aggressive, but this map has some similarities in the sense that the very top players on this map are very good at holding leads. And so going down any frags at all, it can be very painful. But still, there is 6 minutes to go. We got a mega steal coming through, and Backstein's playing like the high positions with the weapons. So he's hoping that you get the pickups, you got your mega, you got your red, but I'm going to do damage as you come out. Did he? Yeah, he got the red, yeah.
He got the red, but those rockets hitting all along the way there. So Zenaku definitely paid a little bit for that. His armor's not too bad, though. He's on 73 armor. He's got center map position at the moment. It's not catastrophic for Zenaku, but he's careful running out of rockets and falling into the Zorak war trap.
Yeah, and Backstein's doing a great job just playing these positions.
We're having a little of a problem here, folks.
Yes. Connection interrupted. So yeah, the 6-1. I think one of the things that's interesting about this map that I always thought was a lot of fun is how you can get, like, giving up the items is okay because all of the items are in terrible positions. So the burden's just on you to do that rocket damage, as like you were pointing out, like that Backstein was doing. So it ends up being the case that the guy that gets all the items kind of loses out, which is not really, I think, as common on some of the other maps because of the positional dynamics that we have on this map and the fact there's no railgun.
Are you talking about sort of how there's a lot of maps where the amount of time it takes to get from the red armor to the mega health, it's usually like 4 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. It's a bit more of a pain in the ass in Lost World going from red to mega. So I always find like it breaks up the way that you have to shift or calculate your timings when you're taking items, especially if you plan on trying to be like defensive on one of them. You're right, the items do feel like they're positioned in particularly like shitty ways to punish people whenever they take them.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like the red, because not only do you have to drop for that red and you're like this very exposed spot, you can't like shoot up and you don't have a railgun to like have this burst damage up either. So, and you can't hit a rocket from down there, like shooting up. That doesn't work because we don't have through floor damage anymore. LG damage also not the best because you have to stand there shooting it for a while to do any measurable damage. So you don't really have good options fighting from down there. So, and then to make matters worse, you have to actually go through a teleporter unless you're going to rocket jump out. And if you're rocket jumping out, you're actually buying that rocket jump with some of your stack. So you know, then the red becomes basically like almost as like a green or a yellow because of how much you have to spend to actually pick it up. So it becomes this kind of weird item in a way where you don't ideally want to take it unless you're in control and it's obviously totally free, or you're splitting the items, and that can happen too. But it's just, yeah, you're right. Like the dynamics of the two, the mega and the rest, kind of weird because most maps will only have like one item that's like a total just terrible spot.
Yeah.
Usually.
So I've just been liaising a little bit between players. I think we're going to be moving to elsewhere. Admins are currently taking care of how we're going to continue play because the players haven't agreed to stop there. Zenaku by no means has said, you know, I'm going to bend over and let Baxin take this one. He certainly believes he can make a 5-frag comeback. I think it was 6-1 was the score that we got to just before we hit the 5-minute mark. And I was sad because we just saw Baxin pick up the grenade launcher, and that would have been his Baxstein jump. The jump was named after him. That's how culturally important it was in Quake Live at the time. I'm just buzzing that Baxin's actually bringing some form. In Diabotical, I know he started getting pretty good, but it's like when he got really good in Quake Live, which I think the Adroit's LAN, if I remember right, was in late 2012, I want to say. And like a year later, he sort of faded from the scene a bit. And then he came back all the way when Diabotical came out, which is, God, when was that? Like 2019, 2020, maybe?
2020, yeah.
And
during the pandemic.
Yeah, so, and at that point, yeah, he rose again, but then Diabotical shrunk. And then really, it's been over 10 years from Baxstein's peak, seeing him, and now he's coming back to this point. I by no means think that he's at his peak again, but it's just great to see that the Dutch guy's still playing. I kind of just want to sit down for like a drink with the players and see, like, tell me what you're doing these days. I'm just like so curious what has changed in all this time. I feel like
it's like a class reunion.
Yeah, it just does feel like that. It's like we have to celebrate it somehow. Everyone stand in a line and tell us what you've been doing all these years. ASL, etc. I think we're going over to a different server. I'm going to find my way there as well.
Yeah, we can take a quick break whilst it gets all set up, so that when we're back, we know that it's all good to go, and we can bring you guys the Quake action. So we'll see you very shortly once we have everyone on the servers and ready to go. All right, we're back. So we are on the server. We are set up and ready to go. And I think see, this is a great end to this matchup. Obviously not the interruption, but just the lost world, and also seeing just being able to see both Zenaku fighting against like an old classic like Backstein, and then seeing the Backstein shenanigans. It's like, you know, it's great.
This is everything you could possibly want. I think we're going to follow Zenaku off the restart of this. He's managed to get himself rockets and red, very early, and the mega health. Despite the bits of damage, can't really ask for a much better spawn at this stage. To note, they're going to play to 5 minutes. Zenaku is trailing by 5 frags, and this is where the first fight's going to break out. Backstein is able to survive, and Zenaku just desperate to get the LG as part of his arsenal.
And there's some classic Lost World damage. A couple rockets at the choke. When there's time pressure on, in this instance, Zenaku, now he's in a really bad situation stack-wise, and Backstein's like in the advantage. Despite, again, initially having that stack disadvantage, it's that defensive damage around these chokes. That's good. And Backstein's swinging through the door with the lightning gun, able to find a perfect timing to catch Zenaku, being just softened up by those rockets.
Oh my god. Perfect little jump. I think Zenaku knew that he was slightly weak, was like, there's no way he's going to invest 40 health or so to rocket jumper. It's Backstein. Of course he will. Oh my god. Even keeping up the mega for just a moment. Backstein does need to recover his HP. There should be a 50 health bubble. Oh no, looks like it's been taken recently. But this is exactly what Backstein needed to do. Again, we're only playing to fight the 5-minute mark, and Backstein now is essentially 7 frags ahead.
Yeah, really great Lost World play so far from Backstein, as expected. And you know, we talked about, you know, the red. You need to know that it's going to be safe to really just go for it like that. But Zenaku was picking stuff up, and Backstein's able to fall onto the mega as well, so he's in full control. So with the 3 remaining minutes, this is going to be quite the ask from Zenaku to like get to Backstein. Some decent damage there, but ultimately Zenaku's trapped.
Backstein is just being an absolute nuisance on this ledge. Again, you're stuck in the LG area. I do think Zenaku has to play it. I mean, he's really forced to play it more slowly, but because of the amount of time, the amount of frags he's got to make back, he has to absolutely gun for it. And it's not reaping any rewards at the moment. Was the Project Velocity girl there at the Mega? Do we know who that is?
5 seconds to red. I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
Member of staff.
It's a mystery.
I don't know.
Well, Backstein again working the position with the rockets. Nice. Direct coming through, and that's going to send Zenaku to his grave once again. So at this point, it's just getting worse and worse. Zenaku trying to play it out there, see if he can find anything there, anything at all.
I've got to say, speaking of getting worse and worse, as Backstein's LG gets worse and worse, his rockets get better. Something is up with his LG. I don't know what it is, but it's just not working out for him. But his rockets are unbelievable.
Yeah, his rockets really are crazy. And that's just like the most important weapon on this map, I feel like.
Oh, he's going to get thrown off? Oh, I thought he was going to get dipping in the lava there. There we go. Finally finds the last click on the shotgun. And that is now 11 frags behind with 1.5 minutes to go. And Zenaku is still not calling it quits. Oh.
Yeah, big damage coming through from Backstein previously, but in comes Zenaku, looking to see if he can get something on the board here.
A Backstein jump. Backstein jump, please, before it's over. Oh, God, not now. Oh, he's... That was like the opposite of what I wanted Backstein.
Zenaku, 100 at least. Picks up that mega. See if he can go on a little run in the final minute of this one.
Needs something for himself, because otherwise, at the moment, we are moments away from Backstein being confirmed in the semi-finals to go against a player called Kanza. I don't know who Kanza is. It's K-A-N-Z-A, all in block capitals on the challenge link. It looks like we are encountering a minor technical issue here, but Backstein's just like GG, and Zenaku also calls it too. So I think we're going to call it game there.
Yeah, despite the interruptions, it you know, Backstein seems to be the clear winner in this one. So he'll be moving ahead. And I think just like you said, the fact that Baxion's able to get on Furious Heights and also Lost World is a huge plus. And that really put, as we saw the series progress, we saw that the map pool was so decisive because obviously Zenaku winning his pick on Campgrounds, but that Furious Heights game, that was a great start for Zenaku. And it's just, again, it's like it's a classy showing always on that map from Backstein. So a big first map to decide this one, I feel like.
And the best map we've had so far this tournament, so I hope to see more of those. I wonder if that's going to influence the other players a bit when they're picking versus Backstein to see what he's good at, what he's not as good at. We know Backstein's already removed Sinister and ZTN. DM6 is certainly something I'd be eyeing up if I'm another player. If I feel kind of confident on that map, I'd certainly be looking to play that versus Backstein. But T7 and DM13, those are sort of hot locations at the moment for him. So yeah, really, really well played to Backstein. And I'm excited, like, especially after we saw, what was it, the first game at the beginning, we saw Zenaku beating Gaia quite in a quite one-sided manner. I was questioning how many players are left in the tournament that can challenge someone who's playing at this type of level. And it certainly seems like one or two at least. Backstein, and you've got to think that someone like Agent or Ash would have a chance too. And speaking of which, that's going to be the next game that we're going to go up against in not too long, I suspect.
Yeah, getting things getting more serious. But I definitely agree on the map pool. Because I wonder how many of the maps look like Campgrounds for Backstein, because his Lost World and Furious Heights looked like S tier, and his Campgrounds looked like didn't look good. Didn't look very good.
We won't add a tier to it, but it was a low tier.
Yes, yeah, it definitely felt like there was some like mistakes at the level that we did not see on Furious Heights and Lost World. So yeah, we'll have to see how that develops. I'm super curious to see what the fate of Ash is in the tournament, as of course we saw him play previously. He still looks like the strongest player that we've seen on stream so far. So of course, we've yet to see Agent, and that's obviously the other super big name. So that should be a lot of fun. Yeah. And I mean, it's what have we not seen yet in the map? We haven't seen an Aerowalk.
For sure. I know you're incredibly conscious about how little we've seen Aerowalk. We also haven't seen Sinister or Cure, I'm pretty sure. But yes. I'm trying to think. Sinister, Cure, Aerowalk, I'm pretty sure we've seen the other map. We've seen DM6, we've seen T7, we've seen ZTN, we've seen DM13. So yeah, that's 7 maps right there. So it's, apart from Aerowalk, the 2 much newer maps. I guess I would have expected them to be played a little more. But it feels like some of the guys who've been hanging around for a long time, I was like, I don't really feel like I need to ban Sinister. But maybe some of the people who are coming back and getting into shape, or maybe playing Diabotical for a bit, or Quake Champions are like, you know what, Sinister, not something that I'm used to at this point. Let's lock down the classic maps that I'm familiar with and go from there. DM13, I know that they made Christ, I can't remember, Corrupted Keep, which is meant to have that sort of DM13 vibe. It doesn't have the railgun, but I always wish they kind of ported a slightly more like for like version of DM13 over to Quake Champions. Is there anything that you kind of felt they ported a bit more, or have you not thought about it as much as me?
I don't think I've thought about it as much as you. I guess being totally honest, not to just derail you at all. But I always thought the way that Campgrounds was changed was interesting. I could never really get used to it.
It did open up the map.
For Sacrifice, though.
It opened the map so much. I guess, like, when you consider all the sort of new the different movement mechanics you got to account for, and the speed and blah 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 blah, etc. etc. Yes, changes were necessary, but when I was watching DM6, when we first started with Zenaku and Gaia, I was like, this doesn't feel like the Blood Run of Quake Champions. It feels totally different. It's not, to me, it's not even like for like on any level, really. But I guess it's just the differences in the game at that point. Go from such a mechanic-heavy game to a more strategy-heavy game. Everything feels different.
Yeah, I do wonder. I wonder what it's going to be like when we see some of the bigger events happening throughout the year, like just kind of starting to kind of project things forward a little bit in terms of like who's going to be grinding, like of all the players that obviously had legacies in Quake Live previously, or maybe players coming from Quake Champions like Zenaku. So like is Zenaku going to grind a lot and actually get really sick at this game? Super possible from him. He obviously has the skill, so it's really the question of getting more of that experience against the good players. But like I'm so curious, like what's the new era of Quake Live gonna look like from the players? And it looks like Rafa, as we mentioned earlier, is gonna be interested in being a part of that. But Dahang retired, so we're not, that was like a classic kind of thing. But I guess at least for Rafa, he's gonna be in Europe, so he's not, because obviously Dahang was really important practice that he would get in NA. So yeah, I'm just trying to think like.
Well,
go ahead.
I think Kilson is certainly someone who's been sort of eyeing up these kind of tournaments. I think a lot of it really hinges on people know that Project Velocity are doing things. They're making moves in the scene. They're creating an exciting product. They're doing things differently to your standard Quake Live tournament or Quake tournament, really. I guess the future there, the continued roadmap for Project Velocity is going to dictate the sort of extended popularity between some of the older pros. Otherwise, are we going to see some more? Really, so far we've seen names, all the players' names we've recognized at this point. However, we're in the semifinals, and there's a player that I don't recognize the name of, which we might get the chance to watch later on in this stream. So, I don't know. I guess as the plans unveil themselves, we'll find out a bit more who's willing to stick around a bit more. And yeah, as we said, we're quoting thousands more tournaments, I believe.
Yes, thousands and millions.
I can say that, right, Cody? Thousands? Yeah, thank you, Cody. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that said, we can leave it on a quick break. We'll be back, and we will have our next match set up. That's going to be Ash and Agents.
go. Rampage, John Blaze, this is how we bury them. Robin Hood, every man, fuck it, do it over them. We don't drive over them, we ain't never friends. We don't give a damn for the rest, it will never end. Bullet evidence, kill them with the eloquence. Never sitting on the fence, we ain't never giving 10. We ain't never heard of them, sound why we murder them. Drum and bass, headshots, tell them how we murder them. That's how we bring it back, till it bangs, bang attack. We're dropping bombs at the door of the plane. That's blink it out. If you really wanna throw blows and attack, get back, bass, snap the snare goes back. Bring it how you want and get it
most beautiful day.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. It's time to get things underway. Sorry for the longer break than perhaps anyone would have liked, but we were sorting things out and want to make sure we get it right for Pavl. Pavl? Ash versus Asian.
Sorry,
Pavl
Pavl.
was eliminated. He was not good enough today. But that matchup, I think it's hard to say whether Ash will beat Asian or not, Zoo. But fortunately, we're finally at the point where we get to figure it out by seeing the players play on the server and get a first-hand experience to see where that form really is.
Well, Ash has already called Agent a robot since I've joined the server with them. So I think that maybe speaks some volumes on what Ash thinks of Agent as a player. So who knows? We see Ash as being this divine savior, but possibly Agent is the overlord. Let's get into the game and find out here in the semifinals.
Yeah, first matchup that we're seeing today as well. To kick things off with we get the red armor spawn here for Agent. A really interesting map in terms of like the angle. Actually, as well, it's like really interesting like rail angles on this map. It doesn't have the high ground positioning, so we'll have to drop down and just put the low ground instead. He's going to give that one up to his opponent. it's a pretty decent stack, so you know you can't really blame him. He's not really losing too much by giving up that red, but maintaining his stack.
So for people who might have watched a lot of Quake Champions and not so much Quake level, little fight over here. Ash and Agent going to separate ways for a little bit. This is a sort of small map, but it's deceptively slow. Yes, just one mega, one red, one yellow. But just the way it's constructed, it's usually quite a slow map compared to some others that we see in the pool. And again, we've seen these small little exchanges, but plays through the teleporter or escaping around through their exit points. No one's overcommitted, and both players are at about 100 health and armor.
Yeah, it's... Ooh, nice connection there from Agent. That's a really nice bit of damage. Just going to allow him to feel very confident taking this red armor. Ash not really wanting to challenge it. After that 100 damage, get the switch in pace as Agent looks to try to convert, but the defensive damage out of Ash is a problem, but it doesn't matter. Agent finding a little window there through the TP with that railgun, trying to pursue, but look at the defensive damage again. Really preventing Agent from capitalizing on a kill.
I just love the little angles that Agent's trying to go for too. And just like other minor details, Agent is timing the green armors as well. And we always used to make jokes. Oh, Ash manages to pick him up over at the mega health. A brilliant opening for him. And I was just going to laugh about how Agent used to get made fun of because they thought he cheated by having clocks on his desk to help him time items. If you haven't seen Agent before, he's just an absolute monster with timing items. But right now, he's finding himself well out of control. So he will certainly need to use that skill set in order to bring himself back in.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, he had all of the advantages that he kind of carefully, meticulously created, and then the defensive damage just switched switch things in terms of the stack sizes and the advantages on that to Ash's favor slightly, and then Ash found a tiny moment, a little window before there was a recuperation to get the frag. So unfortunate for Agent, but that's how duel goes sometimes. It's very frustrating. And Agent's back with over 100 armor on his stack, looking for this red armor, but again, it can be somewhat of a death trap on the low grounds, that little cove. And instead, Agent opts just to maintain position instead on the high ground. Nice rail.
Wow. Don't know how Ash managed to find that retaliation there. That was very, very impressive. And by the way that we've been watching Ash already today, I do feel like he's likely going to be slightly more aggressive. But we need to wait to see what's Agent like when he has full control. Does he want to pick those unexpected fights? 200 here. Red armor does get taken by Agent. That means he's capped out his armor. Mega health will be a big challenge. Agent does get a good bit of splash to start to level things out. This is very tactical damage output. No overcommitments. No one really wants to play the sort of low percentages. There's a drop down. Agent didn't expect that straight away. He has got himself on the red armor, but Ash is in it for the damage. And he's behind on stack quite significantly, but he's the one pushing forward.
Yeah, that was an that movement from Agent was incredible. Like he was okay. Well, hold that thought because it might find Agent actually finding the moment to capitalize here, looking to find the fight. But the defensive damage again from Ash is really good. And Agent, his aim was perfect until that moment when he needed it the most, but still comes out ahead. 1-1, we're tied up, but this fight over the red could really change everything. Agent needs to be cautious and has to back away. So Ash will come away with the armor. He should be able to get the health back up. I don't know if the Agent wants to press this.
Ash had such a chance to extend his lead just there, but missing the critical shots at the end in the shard corridor. Agent, very nice on health, but Ash whittling that away a lot. A big rocket. The red armor's going to be up in a moment, and Agent in heaps of trouble. I'm half surprised that Ash didn't push out the side instead of committing to the red to try and get the kill.
Yeah, this has been really a very tight match so far. Like both players so low in so many situations. Like right now, neither player really has the health. Agent obviously worse for wear though. That 50 feels like a mega health sometimes. It's so important.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you're in control, like denying it is kind of a nice strategy because this is sort of the outer control area, or one of. Agent just trying to make sure that he can catch his opponent if he swings through after taking the red armor. Just still running this kind of out of control side of the map.
I think he's managed to keep the timing going, so he knows when things are up, but he's not shown his face directly on that red armor for a while, but with that stack that he's got now, I think he's gaining in confidence. Mega Health's been up for about 10 seconds, and it's like they're playing chicken with each other on the items.
Yeah, that red, it doesn't look as bad as some other red positions, like we talked about Lost World, but you can really get trapped there. Really, and you can just die. So you got to be cautious with it. And you can see that it's been given a lot of respect here by Agent. One thing I really felt was impressive from Agent so far was how he was maneuvering, like hitting a lot of LG coming out of the out of this red fight, and then maneuvering to the next item whilst taking the fight defensively. It was actually pretty remarkable. And Ash might be getting trapped here a little bit. Agent will fall back onto the Mega though. Again, trying to make sure he doesn't take too much damage. I love this control of, okay, I want to make sure that I'm always not allowing you to do too much damage to me. I'm going to control these fights. And now Agent's 200 because of it.
The thing is, Ash isn't doing that bad on stack either, but look, it's the slowest game we've seen so far. It does feel like it's complying with our thoughts about these high-level players. Highly strategic, not too many kills. Them wanting to make moves when they are most confident, but almost 7 minutes of just 2 kills on the board. It's really difficult to tell who's going to be able to pull away and take a lead. Ash under a lot of pressure from there. There was a killing blow available. Agent escapes with 100-100 and a Mega Health behind him. And here's the red. Oh, Ash, where he shouldn't be, loses out on the stack, loses out on, well, the tied game. And now he's putting himself under a lot of pressure to do a lot more damage and get back into the map.
Yeah, I think Ash actually overextended earlier on by the green. He got hit by a rail and continued to fight, as opposed to being like, okay, the stack sizes have changed. I need to cancel this idea now. It's no longer any good. And I think that was really a big turning point that led Agent into getting the kill. He was able to fall off onto the Mega, and now he's got that full Mega control. And just like you said, Ash is now kind of cycling into these deaths, and that's not a good sign for him.
What's interesting is just before this rotation of the red and Mega, they had exactly the same amount of items picked up, both of them. And the damage is in favor of Ash, actually, by about 500, but it is Agent who's getting the damage at the more critical points.
Falling back onto the Mega. Really good delay between the Mega and the red right now, allowing Agent to comfortably play for both items. Ash on the high ground. Unable to do too much defensive damage against Agent, but Agent also didn't really do too much damage to Ash. But Ash is so low here. He's going to be very careful.
Wow.
Again, the defensive rockets are just really incredible. That's like 200 damage right there.
That's an amazing amount of damage. Can Ash actually pull this into some type of shared control? He has to be able to challenge one of these major items. If he doesn't do that, the game is essentially over. He either has to commit to the item that Agent's going to, or at least get that Mega Health now. He has the Mega Health. He knew that was important. He didn't take a rail, even more importantly. And now he leaves himself. It's up to the execution now of the aim. There's the yellow. Not the end of the world for Ash, but he has to do well here. Huge rockets.
Oh no, he got Agent down to 4 HP. So, I mean, you couldn't ask for too much more than that before you actually have a kill. So close for Ash. But 2 kills, and now Agent can go full defense mode, playing this high ground, just playing for just killing time, delaying as much as possible. But you gotta be careful, because if Agent does die, you can spawn frag quite effectively on this map. So even if he delays his spawns, there's an opportunity here for Ash. He doesn't go for the TP immediately, at least, but that does buy Agent some time to pick up that yellow as well. So now he's pretty stacked up. Ash will get that Mega. He's got to go for it now, surely. 20 seconds left as Ash tries to pursue. And Agent just playing that time, playing the clock. You can hold your spawn for 5 seconds before the game forces you to spawn. So at this point, it's now become impossible for Ash to win. But man, what a crazy game.
Yeah, insane. Ash could not find him at the end of the map at all. And that means Agent, well, looking at the control, marginally better overall. Ash doing exceptional damage, but it just can't catch up. That's the kind of map, though, that we wanted to see between the two of them. Agent does win his pick, which does mean we move over to DM6 next, which is what Ash selected. So we do have the possibility for a tiebreaker still by the way these guys are playing. But we can clearly see already that Ash isn't the top dog. At least, not. We haven't got to the end of the series yet to fully determine that. Agent has something to share with him. I think players look to have moved away, so we might be going over to another server at some point. We'll find out momentarily.
Yeah, cool, really cool game though, because it really felt like both players did so much really well. Ash played his defensive game really well. Agent played his defensive game, although he wasn't having to be in the defense as much, but he played it really well also. And in terms of like trying to pursue for the kills, you could see that was really where it was quite challenging. Both players doing a lot of chip damage. I think for me, again, it was that moment where Ash, I feel like he maybe was impatient. There wasn't a clear moment until he was trying to sort of attack from the top green onto Agent when he was around the yellow, where Agent was able to rail him almost instantly as he came around the corner. And I think that's a bit of damage that if you're Ash, you're not calculating for that. So that play to try to aggress there is good until you receive that damage. And I think this is a common thing that happens in Duel when you've been kind of like going even for a long time and you feel like, okay, I found my spot. This is my play. And then you get a bit over invested in it and you don't give it up maybe when you should. That's kind of my read of the situation. But either way, like that was otherwise like both players played it at a really high level there. So that's awesome to see.
I'm trying to sort of characterize the players a little bit in this because it did feel like overall Ash's general combat skills were better than Agent's. But it's just at certain really pivotal moments. Because Agent didn't have that much more control than Ash. It just felt like when there was a commitment, when they were trying to battle to the death, Agent somehow managed to turn it around. It's like he got into the fights that he would have felt most comfortable with. And I think if Ash can try to play them a bit more in his terms, it's much easier said than done. I would expect his combat skills to reign supreme.
Yeah, it was interesting in a way because even though the game was so close, I think for Ash it felt like he was kind of like leaning to like not necessarily fully out of control, but like leaning toward that most of the time. It kind of felt like it was Agent trying to actually pressure Ash for kills more than it was the other way around actually. And that was Agent trying to convert the fact that he was continually getting these massive stack advantages. And so it really, the equalizer in those scenarios for the longest time was Ash's defensive rockets. That was really I think the biggest issue for Agent to kind of get through that defense. And so maybe that's part of the reason also why Ash sort of like, eventually maybe overextended slightly, because he just, as the out of control guy, is like, man, I'm like sick and tired of like constantly being the one that's having to play defensively. I need to try to turn things the other way around and start taking, putting you on the other foot. So interesting. And Agent's LG, Zoot, a lot better than I would expect it to normally be.
It is, right? The times have changed for Agent with the LG. But he'll never live that down fully. But however, we've gone into map 2 quickly, and Agent has teared Ash apart in the opening 5-10 seconds. So that was rapid. He had the LG straight away, and not much Ash was allowing himself to do then.
Ooh, interesting catch here from Agent. You have to hit some good LG there. Good opportunity for Ash to get some good damage in, especially because like all the big items are coming up. There's a couple seconds between the Mega and the Red, and Agent's gonna have to go for the low ground. So if Ash can shut down the choke point, he's actually gonna rocket jump straight up. So Ash should get an opportunity to take that Mega. He does, and he gets out. So kind of equal, but the weapon disparity is really the advantage Agent can now leverage, and that rail is just that advantage coming into play.
And there's so long until this red armor's up. Ash is just, sitting duck on this item. And Agent's gonna be like, yeah, I know exactly when it is. I didn't need to worry for a second, really. Ash had the yellow armor open elsewhere. Maybe he just wanted to kind of get onto the map a bit fast, rush himself a little bit.
And Agent's got sick control now.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Ash had a chance to go over to Railgun, but what's the next step that Agent's going to take after Mega? Got the bounce pad and cover it off from the bridge. 8 HP. You've surely got to sit back a bit more. This is much more rush than I would expect from Ash. I feel like he's taking inspiration from Gaia.
Yeah, you can definitely get close range shotgun. You never know. Shotgun can do like 110 damage if you hit all the buckshots. So yeah, but yeah, I agree with you completely. You would normally expect a player to try to slow things down, but I don't know. I mean, it could be the case that in campgrounds, in like a more like modern meta of campgrounds, as we see another just a connection interrupted there, that maybe players are trying to play more aggressive because out of control is harder to play. Because I always know when you go back and look at the Rafa Cooler ESL Classic where Rafa played the out of control game, Cooler wasn't putting he could have put more pressure on Rafa. I feel like he could be more aggressive in certain spots. So maybe that's the sense that players have. You got to play aggressive on this map and just convert heavily.
That's kind of the way I see it. Honestly, for me, it's weirdly close to Arrow Walk. Not in terms of how, exactly how you're playing it, but just it tends to be one long period of control for a player. Eventually you invest, eventually you overturn it, and you desperately try to fight back. But it's at a lower scale. Like Arrow Walk, you can get sort of 15 frags in a row in the opening 5 minutes and still be at risk of losing the map. The Campground is like half of that, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. Absolutely, yeah. You definitely see that behavior of trying to reinvest off spawns. But split items here, so opportunity for Ash potentially. The red is up. Agent, I'm not sure if he realizes what's going on with regards to the red armor timing. It's Agent, so typically, the best jewelers are going to have they're gonna have to probably switch servers, but the best jewelers are gonna have a sense as to what is going on with all of the items, even if they can't see them. They will have a sense as to when they're gonna be either in the rotation or maybe they're just they just have that sixth sense from playing so much. Oh, they're actually gonna continue.
I think they're just persisting at this point, honestly, is what it looks like. Which is valiant of them. Honestly.
Yeah.
Is this something that players have grown used to? I'm not really intimately familiar with what's been going on in the community lately.
I'm in the same boat as you in that sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm looking at chat a little bit to enlighten us a little bit. But it's definitely disrupted the flow for both players at this point. But it almost feels like they kind of just know it's happening. Someone said it's evil DDoSing it.
Indeed. Well, there we go.
I don't have much to add, Dan. Sorry.
Yeah. Not much to say about that one. We'll just have to see whether we can find a solution, whether where the players are in terms of how they're feeling about it as well. And I guess we'll update you guys as things continue here. What is the potential next matchup?
I mean, it would be the final, I'm pretty sure. So Backstein beat Kanza 2-1 is what it looked like. I don't know what the map scores are at all, the specific maps. Looks like Ash timed out, but we don't really know what that means yet. But if indeed Ash is accepting or conceding the match, then that would be Agent versus Backstein. And I don't, that's to me, that's a clash of playstyles right there. I'm not sure it necessarily favors Backstein, but there's certainly a couple of maps in the pool that I'd be really interested to see them play against each other.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like with regards to Agent, the limit test with Agent is something that I don't know. Like what is it that makes him uncomfortable? What parts of his game can you put pressure on and find the weaknesses? I think historically it would have been more in the aim department.
Yeah.
Would be one of those areas where players could kind of make the difference, but then Agent's going to be really strong positionally, really strong on the control game, and I feel like his aim, his fighting skills are significantly better than they used to be. So
they've always been just enough. That his comments are just enough because his control is so good, and you just need enough, really. If your opponent is stacked half you or 75% of you, your combat skills just need to be enough that you're 1-to-1 losing health and armor at the same time, basically. Or even you can lose it faster as long as you've got more stack. It doesn't matter, right? So I still don't think he's king of mechanics by any means. He just seems to have just locked down this understanding of how to keep control of the map, how to delay items, how to starve your opponent of information, and be ready when they're trying to get that control back. So, he's definitely better mechanics than when we used to, I guess, giggle about it back in 2010 or whenever it was, a million years ago. But it looks like the players have gone to another server. I still don't know what it means for the outcome of this game, if it's a la Backstein versus Zenaku on DM13, or if it means something else. So guys will enlighten you as soon as we hear any updates on that. I think it looks like we've just been informed that Ash is done. We will be moving over to the grand final next. That is a live update for you in chat right now.
Yeah, so we'll get them organized onto the server. So in the meantime, whilst we get the grand final set up between Agent and Backstein, we will take a break and we'll see you on the other side.
Becoming more difficult. They say, oh, it's already okay here. Why you still want to move up there? It's getting more dangerous, whatever. So that means along this way, the higher you want to go, the more likely you're gonna walk alone. This is the next thing. Along the way to mastery, you walk the way alone. Repetition, repetition, repetition.
Tranquility Base, Houston, guidance recommendation is changed, and you're cleared for takeoff.
Hello, and welcome to the Enrichment Center. Hello, and welcome to the Enrichment Center. Hello, your specimen has been processed. Hello, your specimen has been processed. Hello, your specimen has been processed. Hello, and we are now ready to begin the test proper. The device has been modified. The device has been modified. The device has been The device has been modified.
Hello, very sorry to interrupt the defrag. movie? A
dare
2008 WC is obviously a classic, but we're back and we're looking to get this grand finals underway between Agent and wait,
Absolutely,
God, I did it again. I can't get it right. I can't get
He's
it
not
right.
there. We got Agent, we got Backstein, we're on ZTN, it's picked by Agent, T7 is picked by Backstein, and DM13 is a possible tiebreaker. But the grand final of the Project Velocity EU Cup 1 is here, and we are on Backstein's pod.
Yeah, and he is very capable all-round player. You're the final boss in this, an Agent. So off the start, Backstein is going to be a little bit worse for wear, but Agent's not fully stacked up just yet. It has a better armor stack, of course. And so this red armor's next, and Backstein not in a position to do pickup, but looks to get maybe some damage as Agent drops, but doesn't find an opportunity. So it's unfortunate because Backstein is going to try to drop and get some damage as the pickup for the Mega happens, and he can't find the rail there either. So, well, the result 200-200 for Agent.
I'm surprised Backstein's been surviving so long here. Oh, he's got to be watch out now for the aggression through the teleporter, but gets out of there pretty damn fast. He's got all the weapons to work with, and he's landing damage, but there's still quite the discrepancy between the two player stacks. And as much as he can keep dodging the damage, the better it is for him. And I like that he's proactive, moving through the tellies and trying to stay nimble.
Yeah, he's done a decent job, negating that red a little bit, just keeping Agent at bay. Because that kind of pressure damage is kind of also Agent not being able to be aggressive against Backstein for those moments. So Backstein now trying to get a work that damage on the red, but that is unfortunate. Agent gets to drop on him instead. And with that, life gets kind of difficult here. It's actually up still, finally taken by Agent. Backstein playing the telly.
It's this vacuum of knowledge now, isn't it? Backstein has no idea when red's been taken. He's simply hoping to get something here, get away without taking a rail. Lands his own. I mean, that's as good as that situation is going to get for him. If he can get himself above that 100 threshold, though, that would be perfect.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that red armor. It was delayed quite heavily, so Backstein may have expected it to actually be spawned there, but still wouldn't even have been able to make a play for Red Agent in position in time. And Backstein just trying to pull all the defensive tricks out of the book here on Blood Run to keep his stack alive, so he can keep building. That's really the name of the game. Keep building the stack until he can finally challenge one of these items.
He was at the upper yellow when it spawned, and he must have heard it, but he didn't pick it up. He knows the red's up, though. This is a big steal for Backstein. And doing very well to delay any frags on this map. So beyond the quarter of the game. But that damage is gone. That red stack that he had is gone. At least there's a yellow to bandage his wounds. I'm really enjoying Backstein's dodge also. He's mitigating the damage exceptionally well. But it's just, how do you get that free damage on Agent? How do you make Agent uncomfortable?
Yeah, and here's the dive for that Mega, because Backstein's been timing it, and unfortunately it doesn't work out for him. And that's the whole play. And Agent off the spawn, able to capitalize it again. And yeah, Backstein spent 3 minutes stacking up, keeping track of the Mega time to eventually try to make a play for it. And that was that play. And it didn't go very well. And it was difficult.
He put everything on that. He bagged the whole map to some extent on being able to make that play work, and I just think that was too risky. I think Agent's ready for those kind of shenanigans. He positioned himself well to not lose track of that Mega health, and it's just so difficult for Backstein now because it's not just about the control, it's about having the weapons to defend his position, defend his weak position. I'm amazed that he's managed to get himself onto the red, and even as far as he has so far, he's still clearly telling us that he's got some fight left in him in ZTN.
Yeah, definitely. An Agent's missing a few rails here, which is giving some breathing room to Backstein to once again try to find a way to stack himself up. And putting the pressure on with the LG once again. Mega coming from 5, as is the red. Backstein might die here in a very poor timing.
Oh.
Gets railed on the way out, but at least escapes. However, he's able to pick up the red too. So looks like Backstein needs that 50. You can see Agent looking for it too. He knows. Yeah.
Backstein found it. That's what it looks like. I'm really impressed by Backstein keeping hold of this. Agent hasn't got a very comfortable lead yet. But LG trickling away. The drop down, that's a brave drop down. Normally that results in a lot of damage taken. This Mega Health not up for a little bit of time. Backstein is just... His timing is not quite as perfect as Agent's. And that's what it's all about. If you make plays depending on the item timing, you have to be really to the half-second accurate.
Yeah, and those 2 plays. I mean, he at least has found, I think, in 2 minutes it took him to find that play. So 3 minutes, 2 minutes. So, you know, that there is a sense that, you know, he has one more like good solid play left in him to make a big challenge for the Mega. If that's, you know, that's what he's going to continue to try to do. And we'll see what he's able to do, though. You never know. He could land some rockets and speed up that amount of time. But here's another free Mega for Agent. Cannot be challenged. Backstein's too weak. I don't know whether he has even all of the weapons just yet either. So I doubt he does.
So Backstein's got everything except the rockets. Oof, nasty shot there. And well, now he's got none of them. And Agent has absolutely everything. The red's coming up. Backstein's going to steal it, but the rail's really the only weapon he has at all, actually. Manages to dodge some damage. Keeps his life. It does. Honestly, this makes me quite excited for T7. I think ZTN was always going to be a big challenge for Backstein, but he's playing at a high enough level that I feel that T7 could be a little bit of a different story.
True. So get the connection interrupted. We'll see if that cleans up a little bit. I know you're on the server, Z, so you can see if how it's going.
I see 999 by the player.
Oh god,
big numbers are good, right?
You see 999. Okay.
Yeah.
Shit. Okay. Well, you know, we'll see if this clears up. I think if it doesn't, to sort of maintain the integrity of the grand finals and making sure that the players are able to actually, you know, play for the prize pool that they've earned up until this point, and to see through the grand finals, we might have to continue the match offline if it is not possible to be played without interruption due to these issues. So that's currently that's where we're at right now. So we'll see what happens exactly, and sort of what the players also decide to do. What are you seeing on the server, Zoom?
Just nothing at the moment. Backstein is still timing out at this point. I think Agent as well. I mean, to be honest, it's probably me timed out too, frankly. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, it looks like what we'll have to do is, you know, wrap up the show so that we can allow the players to continue to play offline and conclude the grand finals, and the results will be posted, I'm sure, by the Project Velocity Twitter, so stay tuned for that, as well as potentially on their Discord server as well. Definitely sucks, growing pains, absolutely, but obviously, you know, I want to, you know, give shout outs, of course, to Project Velocity and everyone who put this together, for, you know, putting so much work into Quake Live after all these years, you know, picking up you know, essentially taking the torch and carrying it forward for Quake, because after QPL obviously closed its doors, and, you know, we don't have like a professionalized kind of, you know, circuit anymore, and it would kind of feel pretty terrible if there was just nothing. And so really amazing, you know, for them to decide to say, hey, we can, we could do that, we can do something, we can keep it alive. So just want to make sure that they get some props for that.
No, I love that, and I love the ideas they're bringing, the branding as well. It's such a different sort of experience. So I've enjoyed casting a lot. It's a shame that it has to come like this, that some people want to spoil the party for everybody else. That's why we don't get nice things, Dan. But hey, I casted with you for the first time in bloody, like 8 years. That's a nice thing on a Saturday night, and I'm working on 3 or 4 hours sleep. But I felt like I did all right. I felt like I kept a level. So thank you for carrying me the rest of the way, Dan.
You did a great job. It was a pleasure to cast with you again. Hopefully we get to do it again soon. I guess just everyone stay tuned on Project Velocity's Twitter for updates for the tournament and for future tournaments and otherwise. But I think that about does it. So thank you all for watching and tuning in today, supporting Quake Live, and we will see you on the next one.
difficult. They say, oh, it's already okay here. Why you still want to move up there? It's getting more dangerous, whatever. So that means along this way, the higher you want to go, the more likely you're gonna walk alone. This is the next thing. Along the way to mastery, you walk the way alone. Repetition, repetition, repetition.